Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Ringo TV Reactions. I'm your host, Ringo. You already know what it is. Make sure you rate, comment, and subscribe. Let's get into tonight's topic. We're dealing with the smear campaign. Yes, that's right. The smear campaign. The smear campaign, which is a strategic plot to, hold the CEO, Stockton Rush, as the culprit behind the submergible allegedly imploding. Now, if you watch my other stream, we broke down a lot of information. We're going to have a lot of stuff that we're going to share with you regarding the situation because I'm pretty much the only one on social media that has a brain that can put the pieces together. These men that allegedly perish by way of a catastrophic implosion. This is the term that they're using on social media because they want to imprint that in your mind. They want you to believe that Stockton is a horrible man. He cut corners. He was greedy. He was too ambitious. And he took the lives of other men because of his ambition. But if the truth be told, Stockton was a great man. Stockton pretty much was a guy that had a plan. He believed in what he did. And all the other men were convinced of what he'd done, and they decided to go along. But what they're not telling you is that the powers that be didn't want Mr. Rush and his colleagues, I would say, that was on the vessel to obtain ownership of whatever it is they were in search for. Because see, nobody goes in the ocean and go that deep. That's like traveling out of space. If you really think about it, they traveled to another world. This was not your normal on a fishing boat and you just took a dive. These individuals went deep to another world, a world where none of us will ever go. And they were explorers, no different than a rocket going into outer space to do whatever they want to do out of space, any sort of research, scientific adventures, or whatever the case is. These men went the opposite way. You see, the ocean is a world of its own. Under the ocean is a world. Things we just don't know. When we think of the ocean, we think of sharks. We think of fish. This is what we think of. But we don't understand that there's an entire world under there. An entire planet, I would say. And these men pretty much went on an adventure because they knew what they were after. To be honest with you, this has really nothing to do with the Titanic, if you really think about it. This has to do with something more advanced. Now, they're using the Titanic as a pretext of what they're really going after. This is rich man talk. All of these individuals that was aboard the vessel all come from money. There was no poor men on this vessel. These are men that are movers and shakers. These are men that are high profile. Do you understand? So it's very odd that all of these individuals perished at the same time when the CEO was very confident of his vessel. He built it to do what it needed to do. And for whatever reason, there are too many mixed stories within the media. Number one, they're telling us that the vessel imploded. It was a catastrophic implosion, right? Now, that sounds nice. At the same time, they lie to us because all during the week, what was happening? They were on this movie-like theater adventure of they only have 24 hours left of air. They only have 96 hours left of air. And it was like this thing of keeping us on the edge of our seat, as if though the rescue mission is underway, but nobody's really underwater. This is what you have to understand. Nobody was really underwater looking for them. You got to do the research, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody was underwater looking for them. Only until the end is when I believe the Coast Guard or whoever put some sort of robot sub into the water to go all the way to the bottom. That's the first time anyone ever been in the water to actually search. Do you understand me? Nobody was in the water looking for them because they didn't want to look for them. The goal was to kill them. This is why I told you that my personal belief is that these men were murdered. Do you understand? It's very interesting because if you look on the screen, you see the image and you see a father and son. And I'm not talking about the victims. I'm talking about this father and son, and they call him billionaire. And this is another term that you have to be very concerned with, because we see this a lot where rather than them just address people by their name, they put their financial situation in the forefront as if though that adds more value to who they are. In other words, the billionaire, Jeff, whatever, that has nothing to do with it, you know? But they put billionaire because they want you to feel like anything this person says has to be true. Well, a billionaire died. Well, I guess he's not smart, right? So you just can't take anyone's word for it just because they have $1 billion in their bank account, or they're worth $1 billion with their assets and investments and so on and so forth. You really can't look at them as a credible source. You know, all of these individuals just came out of nowhere. So we're going to get into a lot of footage, a lot of news reports. We're going to break down a lot of information. Peace and blessings to everybody that's joining in on the stream. Make sure you get the likes up. We have 201 in the building. We have 201 in the building, only 73 likes. We got to do better, ladies and gentlemen. We have to get the word out there. Look, ladies and gentlemen, the way the word is to spread is when you come into the stream, you have to click the like button. If you don't click the like button, you're telling YouTube that you don't like the video. So YouTube is going to say, okay, since nobody's clicking the like button, then we're not going to share the video with other people. So that means while I'm sharing this truth that is supposed to help you understand what is going on, others are never going to hear it but you. Do you understand? So in order to get the message out there, you have to do your part. See, I'm doing my part, right? I'm sacrificing my time to speak on this matter so that you can be enlightened on what I'm seeing. Because there's a smear campaign, a great smear campaign against Mr. Rush in the media right now. That's what's going on. Hold on a second. Yeah, there's a great smear campaign to discredit him, to make him look like a failure, to put all the blame on him, to shape public opinion. I see these type of things happening all the time, and it's disgusting. The reason why it's disgusting, ladies and gentlemen, is because of this. When the vessel initially went missing, the news media was pushing this story 24 hours a day. There was this anticipation of hope that there's a possibility that these men would be recovered and rescued. But if you really think about it, if you really think about the climate of the situation, if you think about the magnitude of what was really taking place in the ocean, there is no possible way that those men would have been rescued. If you really think about this logically, those men had no way of being rescued because nobody could go under there. Think about this. They had to send a robot because nobody's going to go that deep. They can't. Do you understand? See, the media take every one of us for a fool. They make you think that there's a rescue mission going on, but really there's no rescue mission going on. Those men were already dead. And my belief is that they were killed. My belief are my opinions. You may not agree with them, and that's okay. But I understand that the government have all sorts of things in place just to keep out intruders. For example, the Titanic. Most of you look at the Titanic movie as a love story between a man and a woman that met on a ship and it sank. But what you don't know is that the Titanic during that time was filled with very interesting people. And if you study the situation regarding the Titanic, you had bankers, you had men of great wealth on that ship. And they needed that ship to go down. And that ship did not hit no iceberg. See, that's the story that they gave you. And then they made a movie about it. And they turned it into a love story so that you can think something romantic, when really it was a terrorist attack against their own people to make different families rich. This is why in the film, if you can recall, you had the guy that was after the necklace. You had the guy that tried to get off the boat, the ship, and he grabbed a child and said that the child has no one to watch over them. I'm protecting the child. These were the bankers. These were the Rockefellers. These were the people that are in high places that you don't know about. So when the Titanic imploded catastrophically, see, there was no iceberg. Do you understand me? Because the boat was built to withstand all sorts of issues. It was a very, very strong vessel. But they want you to believe that a little old iceberg sank the ship. Those are all lies. But what you don't know is under, in the deep, there is all sorts of things underwater, under the ocean, that the government have in place. Now, of course, you may not believe what I have to say. But just like they got satellites in space, just like they got all of this technology to watch over the planet, you think they don't got things into the water? You don't think that they got technology in the water? You don't think they got weapons inside of the water, in the ocean? Weapons, things that they have built. You don't think they have these things? So that anyone that get near the Titanic, anyone that comes close to it to unveil the truth, that they'll be instantly wiped out? Have it ever dawned on you that these particular men were interested in aliens, extraterrestrial activity and beings? They were into things that most of you would think is crazy. Again, you don't know what's in the ocean. You'll think it's madness. But when you got billionaires traveling in a vessel in the deep, trust and believe, it's something they want to see. It could be a spacecraft. It could be something that is in that ocean that they knew about. And they went on to embark on a mission. And the powers that be in all the different governments around the world are in agreement. And they said, you know what? We got to take them out. Because trust and believe, there is no way that these men can go do this without it being sanctioned by someone so that they can get the green light. No different than if you're in New York City, you just cannot jump into a boat, go into the sea and just kind of just sit there and just do what you want. No, you can't. Do you understand? You can't do that. The police boats would be there. The Coast Guard would come in. They would be looking at you as a terrorist. There's no way you could just do that without people knowing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's things about this story that is pretty much not adding up. In the beginning, they made it seem like a love story. They made it seem like 5 men are missing. We have to save them. Time is of great essence. But then after they tell you that the vessel imploded, all of a sudden now the smear campaign began. But where was the negative comments? Where were the negative videos? Where were all the negative words while they were searching? Where were it? Right? They were not speaking negative of Mr. Rush or any of the individuals while they were in the process of searching for their vessel. It's only until after they claim the vessel imploded is when the smear campaign began. And then they started to go into his background, his records, his history, his credibility, what kind of materials was used. Why? To get you off focus on what happened. What went wrong? What went wrong? And also, ladies and gentlemen, they're getting word that the government claim that the vessel imploded on Sunday. So if the vessel imploded on Sunday, an hour or so after it was launched, why Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they're busy going on a search campaign if the government already had this information? Do you see my point? Because the government is behind it. Now, nobody's going to tell you this because nobody has the balls to speak the truth. The news media was milking the system the whole week, playing with your emotions, playing with your feelings, making you believe there's hope. And I'm pretty sure all of you believe that, okay, they're going to find them. They're going to survive. But as soon as they died, that's when the media went wild. Now it's a smear campaign. Now it's time to discredit Mr. Rush and paint him as a monster. Where is Mr. Rush's family? Where they at? Where is Mr. Rush? Where are they? You understand? This is crazy, man. Peaches says, Ringo TV, you are right. People copying you as we speak. Hey, it's no coincidence. I already done know that. I know that's how it goes. It is what it is. And I'm sure they won't even give me any credit. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing if you watch my videos as a content creator and you say, salute Ringo, saw your video, I want to share my thoughts on the situation. But now if you see people trying to sound and talk and do the things that I'm doing right now and they don't give me no proper credit, you know they got it from me because I'm the only one that's talking like this. So now we're going to break this thing down. I'm going to show you what a smear campaign looked like. I'm going to show you what a smear campaign looked like. This is going to be a lengthy live stream. So if you have the patience, we're going to get through this, right? So there's a lot of stuff that we got to deal with here. So let's break this thing down. Hope you enjoy the stream. Shout out to V-Dub Man in the building. What's going on, brother? Peace and blessings to everybody in the chat. And again, we have 288 people in the building, only 100 likes. We got to do better, fam. Let's get those likes up. Let's get those likes up. Let's go. Let's get into the video. Let me tune this thing up for you. Get the volume right. And again, this is a commentary and criticism video. We're not here to play a video in its entirety. We play videos and we pause and we speak. That's what we're doing. If you want to find all of these news clips, go find them on your own timing. What I'm doing is a breakdown. I'm not here to be a movie theater. Do you understand? Because we have those that love to say, let the video play. No, you can go build your own platform and let the video play. Over here, we break videos down. Without further ado, let's get into this. Let's go.
Steered by a PlayStation controller, using components bought from Camping World.
Wow.
And there were questions about its safety rating.
Now notice the smear campaign begins. He used a PlayStation controller. He used parts and components from Camping World. This is to attack his credibility, to say that he cut corners, that the parts of the vessel were cheap. But see, that's not helping the situation. The question that we all need answered is this. Why did the vessel lose communication in the first place? That's the question we need answered. We don't want to hear about controllers or what Camping World equipment. How you know about that? How do you got receipts to know that he used this and he used that? Where they get this information from? That is like you dying in a car crash and then they blame you for why you died. They blaming you for why you died. Imagine that. That's crazy. But let's go.
Just seemed a bit shoddy.
Oceangate shouldn't have been doing what it was doing.
Wow.
This is really focused on one thing, and that's the pressure vessel, and making sure that that component, which is clearly the most critical component of the sub, is safe.
But 5 Titanic tourists paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to descend 12,500 feet in the Titan submarine. Now the remains of the sub have been found.
Notice they said the remains of the sub has been found. But the sub allegedly imploded on Sunday, according to the government. So why did it take the government so long to dispatch the robot into the ocean to get this information on Sunday? What's really going on? See, this is the problem, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of us are not paying attention. This was intentional. They purposely took those men out on Sunday. As soon as they entered the ocean, there was something that took place. There was no implosion. That's a lie. That's a lie, because nobody knew what was happening. Nobody heard anything except the so-called government. How they heard it? How they heard it? How did they know where they were to hear it? Come on. Come on. They were being monitored the whole time. The government knows everything that's going on in this earth. Like I told you, they got satellites in space. If you think that they don't have anything in the ocean, think again. There could be, for all we know, weapons surrounding the wreckage of the Titanic, because the Titanic may hold various secrets that will uncover the truth of all of these bankers, the Rockefellers, and various other people that are in the secret place that are pulling the strings of everything in the world. Why do you think they wanted to sink the ship? Because they knew nobody could go to the bottom of the ocean to find out. Think about these things. But see, with today's technology, we're able to do that. And the powers that be realized that the ambition of Mr. Rush was going to achieve what he sought off to do. Just like in the Bible, where it talks about how in the scriptures that men were planning to build a tower. I believe it's called the Tower of Babel, I believe it's called. They were planning on building a tower that would reach heaven. And the Bible talks about how God recognized what these men were doing, and they were of one accord, which means they were going to accomplish this thing. And he had to scatter the people and break up the languages so that they won't understand each other, so it won't happen. Do you understand? So when Mr. Rush decided that he's going to do this thing, he really believed in his heart what he was going to do. And the government saw it as an opportunity to take him out, because they didn't want him to discover what they had planned and had in mind. There are things in the ocean, ladies and gentlemen, that have been sitting there for generations and generations, and the powers that be know about it, but they don't ever tell the population. There's a world under the ocean. Just as the sky is limitless, so is the ocean. The ocean goes deep, very deep. And the deeper you go, the colder it gets. There's a world under there. There could be so many different sites. And Rush knew about them. And this is why all of these wealthy men were on board. They wanted a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And the powers that be took them out. There was no implosion. That is a lie that the powers that be have concocted to once again brainwash the sheep so that they can walk around headless not thinking for themselves. But see, here on Ringo TV Reactions, we use our brain. We are rational in our judgment, and we look at things for what they are. All of these men are paid puppets. All of these people that are speaking against Mr. Rush are crisis actors. They even have stories going around claiming that the 19-year-old was terrified to go into the vessel. Do you see the smear campaign? If he's terrified, why did he go on? And why are they reporting that now after he's gone? They didn't report that while they were searching for the bodies. They weren't reporting that the young man was terrified while they were searching. Only after they realize everybody's dead is when the smear campaign begins. Let's get back to the tapes.
Questions are being asked by experts who raise safety concerns about the Oceangate vessel were apparently ignored. One of the engineers was fired after voicing his concerns.
Where was this person that allegedly was fired about voicing his concerns before the vessel went underwater? Where are videos of this person with the shades? Where is he in the media? Why the news media wasn't interviewing him before the vessel went into the ocean? If he had all these concerns, why these concerns and these stories and these video clips are being raised now that everybody's dead?
One man refused to ride the sub after seeing how it was built.
Really? So one man decided not to ride in the sub after he's seen how it was built. But yet, this is being disclosed now. But while they were searching for the sub, nobody cared about none of this. The guy didn't care about, well, you know, I didn't care how it was built. It's only after everybody perished. This is a smear campaign.
One man who actually did ride it described his voyage to a newspaper as suicide.
Wow. So he described his voyage as suicide. That's what he described his voyage as, right? But where was this outcry before the vessel went under? Where was the government and local authorities to intervene if it was such a high-risk situation? If everybody knew that the integrity of the vessel was not up to par, then why was this even happening? Why was it allowed? I personally believe that the government basically took whatever Mr. Rush discovered, whatever his cameras discovered, whatever his computers discovered, and they stripped him of everything that he obtained. Remember, when they went underwater, they had computers, laptops, cameras, they had everything on board. They were recording. Where is all of the tapes? No. They didn't delete everything. They have everything. Do you understand? Because what they got is very important data. This could be technology that they were able to discover. And this is the reason why you have all of these different engineers and everybody speaking against Mr. Rush, because it's a rush for who is going to claim the fact that they found the technology, that they discovered this. It's all about research, science. That's what this adventure was about. It wasn't about, oh, I just want to see the Titanic. This was deeper than that. They're not telling you the truth. You have to read between the lines. Nobody is going to risk their lives to go underwater that deep. For what? To get a visual? Come on now. It don't make sense. It doesn't make sense, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get back to the tapes.
These are all the potential concerns that could have led.
Notice his hand position, which clearly says he's of the Illuminati. Notice the hand gestures. Come on, people. Look, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of you may not believe, but many that are on this planet are not human. Many people that are in media that you see on these news stations, that you see broadcasting with these smear campaigns, they don't be human. They be aliens, clones, agents. Do you understand? Their job is to shape public opinion. These people are like robots. When you see them talk, they're like robots. This is a Luciferian system, a satanic system, and their job and purpose is to control the masses by using hypnosis, mind control, Bait and switch, smear campaigns, propaganda. This is what they do. And you believe them. Right now, people hate Mr. Rush. They're calling him a criminal. These are the things that they're saying about him right now, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see if I can pull up something for you. Let's just take a look at some of these comments. This is from a video. There's so many videos on social media right now about the situation, but let's just look at a couple of things. At the top, it says, somebody named So Gorgeous says, I blame Stockton Rush for his sad, sad tragedy. For this sad, sad tragedy. Notice a person says, I blame Stockton Rush. Poor Sulman Dawood. He has his whole life ahead of him. He seems so sweet. Do you see how public opinion have been shaped? Somebody else came in and says they knew the risks they were taking. Now, again, they claim that an aunt allegedly came forward claiming that the 19-year-old was terrified. That's a lie. She's a crisis actor. We're going to get into that later on. Because what happens is the media is pushing these things and taking words out of context, adding on to the words to make it seem more dramatic. You understand? Somebody else came in and says, I wouldn't say the 19-year-old exactly knows risk at a scale of a 50-year-old. Do you see how they're trying to make it seem as if though the 19-year-old's a child, a baby, and don't have no sense or brain cells to make conscious, rational decisions? Notice that. The person says, I wouldn't say the 19-year-old exactly knows risk at a scale of a 50-year-old. His father was stupid. Now notice, now the father is being insulted. First, somebody blamed Mr. Rush. Now they're blaming the father of the 19-year-old. Do you see how the victims are all being blamed in the smear campaign? Right? So now they're saying the father was stupid enough to trust Rush, dragged his kid along for the poorly decided death chamber. Now, he wanted to say poorly designed death chamber ride below the sea. Now, notice what they call it, a death chamber. All right? This is what they want to paint in your mind. They want you to believe that the CEO, Stockton Rush, have designed a death trap. When really, if you really, really get real serious, what Mr. Rush put together was brilliant. And a lot of people in the engineering community are jealous of that. At the end of the day, this is how rich white men argue and fight. This is how they work. It's a lot of jealousy in the engineering community. The fact of the matter is, Mr. Rush beat them to the punch. And it bothers them because all of these men in this community are designing submersibles. Mr. Rush is not the only one who have ever designed a submersible. Many white men, many European, different ethnicities, all of these different guys that are engineers and come from different educational backgrounds and money have designed submersibles for the same purposes, going under in the ocean to do research, scientific research, looking for various clues, searching for life forms, various things they're looking for under the ocean. But they'll tell you it's for the Titanic. It's not. Shout out to Deborah for the $20 super chat. Appreciate your support, sponsoring the show. Right? Let's see what else we got. Other person came in there and said they would have never boarded if they thought the most minute thing was risky. Shadazah would never had risked that for his son. See, first of all, for the father to have his son with him, it meant that this was a normal ride. I can guarantee you that Mr. Rush has tested this vessel many times, and it was just a normal day in the park for them. A normal day. But they were murdered, ladies and gentlemen. They're trying to make you think that this was the first time the vessel has launched to go that deep. This is what they want you to believe. No, the vessel has a remote control. They were able to test run this to do its job. Do you understand me? So they want you to believe that this was the first ride. Why would anybody have a first run with no tests and people would get on board just to go? Who would do that? You see that? So what's happening here is a smear campaign where they're trying to discredit Mr. Rush because they're jealous of his invention. And I believe that they're taking over the company as I talk. Do you understand? Because if he was a CEO and he's no longer there, they're going to have a new CEO now. Do you see how that works? So they're taking over everything. Everything that he designed, everything that he built, all of the technology, everything he acquired, the government now confiscates everything. This goes deep, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a game. They just don't want you to know the truth, right? So that being said, let's get back to the tape.
To disaster.
Notice hardware components.
Oceangate, the company which owned the sub, said on its website that it was a mixture of bespoke engineering and off-the-shelf parts.
Notice off-the-shelf parts. They're trying to focus on parts to make you believe that the vessel was cheap. But that doesn't answer the question. Why was the vessel literally lost at sea? Why it lost communication? Why nobody's talking about that? They're trying to focus on parts. Nobody cares about parts. That's not important right now. What's important is, why did it lose communication in the first place? Who interrupted that communication? Because if you have sophisticated technology to communicate with one another, there is no reason to lose contact. Someone disrupted that contact. Someone used some sort of technology similar to a solar flare to knock off any sort of communication. You have to understand the science behind what I'm saying. Just the other day, they were talking about solar flares hitting the earth, talking about how it can knock out the internet and do all this other stuff. Well, how could a submergible vessel loses contact within 1 hour of its launch? How could that even happen? Somebody interrupted communication, which created a situation where the vessel had no guidance, which means the vessel was in operation similar to a plane flying in the sky without air traffic control giving them guidance. Come on, y'all. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Get those likes up. You understand? You're not getting this kind of breakdown nowhere else. When you in the sky in a plane, you can't even see where you're going. So you're dependent on your monitor, you're dependent on all the controls, and you're dependent on the dispatch and everybody at the control towers to pretty much guide and navigate you if there's rough weather or whatever the case is. Well, likewise, the same thing is under the ocean. It's the same thing. Somebody have to be in communication with the vessel. If not, you'll be blind. The deeper you go into the ocean, the darker it is. So you got to have very good lighting in order to see. You can barely see. So it's very important. You got to have technology, fam. You got to have sensors that will let you know if you're about to hit into something so that you can stir the other way. There's all sorts of things under the ocean. You know? Very important information. But what you're seeing here is a smear campaign. They're talking about the submersible use certain kind of parts to try to make you think that the integrity of the vessel was poor. In other words, that's why it imploded. Because it was a poor design. They're saying, oh, it was built out of carbon fiber. Listen, man, we have to stop allowing the powers that be to brainwash our mind. You can have carbon fiber in any sort of design, it doesn't mean that the entire vessel was made out of carbon fiber. That would make no sense. To go underwater that deep, you would have to have certain materials that can withstand all of that pressure. Do you understand? So they're lying to you.
They said this made the sub easy to fix, but the decision to use these components has now been called into question.
Just think about the machines that they're using right there, ladies and gentlemen. Think about the machines that is right there that is being used, right? Think about that machine that's being used. Think about how much that machine costs, right? Now, why would you have a machine that is that sophisticated? You know that's not no $20 machine. So you know that the vessel that was built in a way to do the job. The problem is in the engineering community, they love to discredit other people. Why? Because they want to be the top dog. And now that Mr. Rush is dead, everyone is having a field day throwing dirt on his name. It's disgusting. You don't see none of these people that are on camera speaking negative, giving their condolences to the families. You don't see them saying it's sad. No. They're focused on negativity, discrediting his name, discrediting his work. But where was this smear campaign while they allegedly were searching for the vessel? Where was all of this talk? It wasn't around. But now the media is going full throttle to discredit the man.
David Pogue, a reporter who took a ride on the sub last year.
He took a ride last year, a reporter. Now all of a sudden he want to come out of the woodworks to talk about it.
Reported it used lighting and handles bought from Camping World.
So let me get this straight. So it used lighting from Camping World, and now we want to disclose that information? How do we know the finished product didn't have something else? See, this is what I mean, ladies and gentlemen, how you got to think outside the box. When that reporter allegedly was on the vessel, it may have been in a testing stage where they had certain kind of lighting but didn't have the finished product on it. A lot of times people build things as a prototype or whatever the case is to show off their work. But see, they're mismanaging the information and not giving any context on why it used such and such. They want you to believe that the finished product had those parts. Do you understand? Let's get back to the tapes.
And rusted scaffolding.
Notice that, rusted scaffolding. So look at what they're painting, ladies and gentlemen. They're painting an image of the vessel being made of cheap parts. You know what I mean? Cheap parts that you would use like for a sewer line, for waste piping and all this other stuff. This is what they're basically saying was used. It's crazy. Rust. Now notice when they say rust, what they mean is that it can implode. It won't be able to withstand pressure. You know? It won't be able to withstand pressure because it's rusted. Being that I got a background in heating, I understand what all of this stuff means and what they're really trying to say. You know, you can have a steam heater that's made of a certain material, and if it's rusted out, it can burst, and the steam will literally fly through the opening and fill your home or whatever with steam, and it can cause major problems with the steam literally giving off its BTUs and turning into water, and now you have a flood. Everything is all over the place. It'll destroy your whole apartment, your whole house. You know what I mean? So I understand that. So when they say rusted parts, they're trying to say that things are going to go wrong, especially at that level in the deep.
Was used as ballast.
You get there and then you start seeing this stuff, and now your mood crashes and you get a little worried. Like, is this the level of polish?
Wow. Do you see how he just discredited him? Do you see what he just did right there? This is a smear campaign, ladies and gentlemen. He's basically mocking them by saying, you know, you get there. In other words, I got there. I'm expecting to see this polished up vessel. But when you realize all the parts that they had is garbage.
And sophistication we're talking about?
Wow.
A previous passenger described how to release the ballast. Passengers all had to move to one side of the vessel.
Wow.
Mr. Pogue described the craft as jerry-rigged, MacGyvered,
wow,
and said a lot of the parts were less sophisticated than he expected.
Do you see the smear campaign? The reporter guy basically says that the parts that was used, according to him, we don't know how long ago he did this adventure in the vessel. We don't know. See, they didn't give you context on what year this was. How long ago did you do this? What was the time frame? Did they update the parts? You know, they didn't even tell you none of this information. They made it seem like this is how it was on launch day.
Like the knockoff PlayStation controller.
The knockoff PlayStation controller. Notice that, knockoff. Now, let me explain something to you, ladies and gentlemen. A PlayStation controller, right, is not knockoff. Don't let these people fool you. The government have all sorts of devices that they fly. You understand? Drones with PlayStation controllers. Don't be fooled, ladies and gentlemen. Don't let the idea of a PlayStation controller make you think that it's cheap, that it's BS. You got government agencies that have weapons that they fly with PlayStation controllers. You understand? Where they have a screen and they're able to fly these drones and do surveillance. So why are they not talking about those guys? But they call it a knockoff PlayStation controller. Why? Because they're trying to discredit the man. They want you to think his work was meaningless, that he should be stripped of all of his credentials, all of his degrees, and banished into the outer world. This is what they want you to believe. The man knew what he was doing. He had a dream. He believed in his work. This is what he lived day and night. And they murdered him along with the other passengers. This is the true story. There was no implosion. That is a lie. And I don't believe that.
Used for steering. When Mr. Pogue challenged owner Stockton Rush over this, the Oceangate CEO is said to have hit back, saying the pressurized container where the passengers sit was state-of-the-art. Made of carbon fiber and titanium, he claimed that NASA, Boeing, and Washington University had assisted in the design.
But that's true. NASA and the universities did assist in the design because it was mentioned in the other video stream that I've done. And what they did is they tried to back out of it to do damage control. They did offer, information in the help of the design. You understand? They offered their knowledge, which gave Mr. Rush information on how to improve his vessel. But this smear campaign is ridiculous and it's disgusting to say the least.
Mr. Rush said that all of the other components could fail and the sub would still be safe. He did admit on the Unsung Science podcast that his biggest fear was getting stuck and being unable to surface.
Now, notice he said that his biggest fear was getting stuck. That's a clue. Could it be that the vessel was stuck? Could it be that because they lost communication somehow, that they were stuck somewhere because something happened underwater? Could it be? Because he just said his fear. Now, what did I teach on fear many times? Whatever you fear, you're going to have. If you fear dying, you're going to die. If you fear getting into a car wreck, you're going to get into a car wreck. If you fear your son going to get shot in the street, in the hood, then it's going to happen. Whatever you worry about, you're giving energy to it. Never worry, never fear. If you have worry and you have fear, you got to cast it down. You got to say, no, I don't fear. No, it's going to be okay. No, we're going to have a safe trip, a safe flight. We're not going to crash. You got to confess these words to shape your own thoughts. Understand, ladies and gentlemen, you have the power to shape your own thoughts. If you have fear and worry, you got to cast it down. Seriously. Don't think that it's normal. It's not normal. Fear and worry is of the devil, and it's designed to cause panic. And eventually you're given energy to darkness to bring to pass the thing that you fear the most.
Fears had been raised about the communications at least once before.
Now notice, they said fears about the communication has been raised once before. Where were those concerns before the launch of the submersible? Where was those concerns? And why nobody didn't raise those fears or those questions or whatever they had, those concerns, why those things weren't put into place before they went underwater?
After Titan went missing while Mr. Pogue was taking his voyage, the sub stopped responding to its support ship, got lost, was unable to find the Titanic wreck.
Unable to find the Titanic wreck, but they told us in the initial story that the government was able to find parts of the submarine around the area where the Titanic was. But they told you that they were lost. Do you see how the stories are conflicting? Do you see how it's just not adding up? They were able to reach the Titanic, ladies and gentlemen. They told you that the ship, the vessel, could not even go that deep. Why would Mr. Rush build a vessel that can't go deep and there's no testing? Obviously, it had to be tested. It had to be tested hundreds of times before they attempt such a feat. But they want you to believe that on launch day, that was the experiment. They want you to believe that the whole vessel was an experiment. This is the smear campaign that they're putting out there to make the man seem incompetent. You know what I mean? Mr. Rush was an engineer. He was not a dummy. He was smart in his own right. And if you understand anything about engineers, they take risk, right? Just like everyone that is an inventor, a researcher, it's very, very interesting work, to say the least. And only those that walk in those type of shoes would understand. The average person that just goes to their 9 to 5 and just do their daily routine, that's not really producing nothing, you won't understand that. But when a man is a producer and his lively work is his research, it means everything. It's very important. And whatever Mr. Rush was in search for under the ocean, along with his guests that were on board, was a once-in-a-lifetime situation. And it was snatched from them. And now someone have possession of it. Trust and believe. As soon as they launched, they had recorders. So where are the recordings of them inside the vessel? Where's the videos of them inside the vessel? Where's the launch day of you see all of them on board? Where are all of those tapes? Before you even go on a vessel like that to do a trip, you would have a little celebration. You would have a drink. You would have something, a toast. Where's that? Where is the celebration videos before they attempt this? Where's the hey, we're launching to go underwater? Where are those videotapes? Where are they? Maybe they never even went, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe the men were murdered. Maybe the men were murdered before anything even happened, and they just gave us this BS story of a launch undersea. Where is it? Where's the paperwork? Where is it? Because there's video on social media of different people that have taken trips in that vessel. And they got video of them going into it. So where's the video of all 5 of these guys entering the ship? Where is it? Why they're not showing it? You know why? Because maybe it don't even exist. Maybe those men were brought in to questioning, held in a room, and deleted for what they know. Maybe those men have already went undersea, returned back to their vessel, had everything they needed, and it was all confiscated by the government. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Think about every movie you watched where the powers that be step in to execute people once they learn the truth. My personal belief is that these men never was in that vessel in terms of it imploding. My personal belief is that Stockton was successful in his launch. He went under, he was able to achieve what he wanted, return back with the men, and they were all placed in custody. And because they were after Stockton, they couldn't let the others go. So they're just casualties of war. This is just how it is, man. I know it's difficult for a lot of people to understand, but when you think and you have rational thinking and good judgment and you're able to break things down, it makes sense. That man was so confident, he knew his product was the way to go. And the men who spent their hard-earned money to go on board, they knew that it was possible to do it. They believed in Mr. Rush. But all of these other engineers and the governments, they're all in agreement to tear his name down. One man, think about this, one man, and you got governments from different countries all against one man. Why? What did Mr. Rush discover? What did Mr. Rush see? What did the other men see? What was it? They don't want none of us to know what it was. So they're giving us this story so that we can digest it.
And then went missing for 5 hours afterwards. Mr. Poe said that there was talk at the time of adding an emergency beacon to the sub, but it seems this didn't happen.
Notice that. More smear that they were trying to add an emergency beacon to the sub, but that didn't happen. You see how they're trying to paint that, they didn't have no safety measures, they didn't have no devices to alert this and that. Do you see what they're doing? In other words, a beacon pretty much to track them, to let them know their location and various other things. Do you see what they're doing here? It's crazy, man. I really believe that Mr. Rush was successful at finding something. He located something, he got video of something, he was bringing it back, and he had a story. And they decided to kill him. And they didn't care about, whoever was on board, billionaire, not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much money you got. We got to delete you. We got to execute you because it's a purpose for national security. So we got to get rid of you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But I got a family, sir. I got a family. It doesn't matter, sir. We got to take you out. We cannot afford for the U.S. population or any other countries in the UK or wherever to pretty much know what you found. So we're going to have to take you out. You know, we really didn't want to do this, but you guys attempted this trip against orders. You did this thing on your own recognizances. We got to take you out at this point. Gentlemen, take them to the room. Do what you need to do so that we can wrap this up. We're going to have a news story on this. We're going to run this for a whole week. We're going to get the population to believe that these men died in an implosion, and it'll be just another day at the office. This is what they did, ladies and gentlemen. This is what happened.
The sub is constantly plagued by mechanical problems.
Notice he said the sub is constantly plagued by mechanical problems. Just look at the way that looked, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the ship that it's launching from. Think about how much money is spent. Think about how much money it's spent just to even be at sea. Think about that. And they're launching this thing into the ocean. But they're saying that this particular vessel is constantly plagued by problems to, again, discredit the CEO.
He added in TV interviews after the tragedy.
Notice this. No safety certificate. Do you see this? All of this is happening after the men have allegedly perished. You see that? And it could be that the men are still alive. It could be that they are literally using them as test subjects right now to erase their memory. And then they'll delete them. There's so many different things that they could be trying to get out of these men in terms of what did you see? Who did you communicate under the ocean? What did you do? There's so many things, fam, that's going on under the ocean. You ain't no telling what's under there.
The Titan operated in international waters, meaning it was outside the remit of government agencies.
Uh-oh. Notice what he just said. That's a red flag. That's a red flag, ladies and gentlemen. Peep the game. Peep the game, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to what the man said. Let's rewind that back a little bit. Let's wind that back a little bit. Listen to this. Listen to it. Listen.
The Titan operated in international waters.
International waters.
Meaning it was outside the remit of government agencies.
Ah, so they were outside of government agencies. Oh, look at there. Do you see, ladies and gentlemen? See, the powers that be wanted in on this. The powers that be wanted to control Mr. Rush, but Mr. Rush was doing his own thing. Do you see that? Do you see that? The government knew that they had no control over him. This man had money. He was surrounded by people with money, and they were doing their own thing to make their own discoveries. The government said, enough is enough. We're going to have to take them out. Nobody is going to do anything without us being involved. And they pretty much took them out. You know, it is what it is, man. Let's go.
Mr. Pogue had to sign a waiver before getting on board, which said that the craft was experimental.
Wow, experimental.
And had not been approved by any regulator.
Do you see how they're discrediting the built quality of his vessel, that it wasn't approved by anyone? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a clear smear campaign. They couldn't control Mr. Rush. Mr. Rush was on his own, doing his own independent research, and they didn't like that. They did not like that, ladies and gentlemen. It's no different than when you do your own independent research about anything in life. People don't like that type of stuff.
Oceangate said the sub could not be classified because it used technology that was so new it fell outside existing industry paradigms.
So you're upset because he used technology that's outside of the norm. Well, that doesn't make his technology bad. See, they wanted him to have the standards that they use. He used something that's totally different. They're upset about that because he was an innovator. When you're an innovator, they get upset with you.
Getting certification for the sub, the company said, would be a multi-year process that was unnecessarily slow because of a lack of pre-existing standards. Oceangate said the approval process was anathema.
You could tell a lot of people in the chat are just not paying attention in class. Permpati literally said, so all this time and it wasn't approved? And you really believe that, right? Approved by what? See, this is what I'm trying to show you. Approved by what? Approved by what? This company is in existence. Obviously, people know about it. Do you understand? They're trying to make it seem like it wasn't approved, or it wasn't this, or it didn't have this certification and didn't have this. These are all the gatekeepers. This is why the company is called Oceangate. Think about that, Oceangate. Those are very strong words to call a company, Oceangate. So they were literally controlling the gate, and the government wanted control over that gate. You got to understand the play. You got to understand this is chess.
To rapid innovation. By itself, the company argued, classification is not sufficient to ensure safety.
He's a robot. He's definitely a bot. If you really think about it, that guy is not human, man. Nobody talks like that. It's like he have no feeling, no emotion, and he's just talking because his job is to literally smear the situation.
CEO Stockton Rush was skeptical of safety standards,
Wow.
telling the Smithsonian that laws governing undersea craft needlessly prioritized passenger safety over innovation.
Ah, there go the word innovation again.
Titan was not his first sub made in this fashion, but it was the first designed to handle tourists. As well as exploring the Titanic, he planned to venture to thermal vents and undersea battlegrounds.
Now think about those images that you see there. If those images are captured, then why the vessel that Mr. Rush was on, there's no footage? Why there is no footage of anything? Come on, y'all. Y'all got to put y'all brains in order. Why they're not showing you nothing? So you mean to tell me once it launched, nobody's recording nothing? No, there's no audio? There's no audio of the men talking inside of the vessel? Come on now. Am I the only one that has a brain to think? So let me get this straight. So everybody that's viewing all of these news stations, nobody's asking the real questions? Come on, man.
Mr. Rush described the submarine industry as obscenely safe, saying there hadn't been an accident in 35 years.
Notice that, 35 years, which brings us another clue. That means Mr. Rush have 35 years of experience, which makes him a professional at what he does. You get it? Think about this. Think about what's going on here.
But the industry also hasn't grown or innovated because of all the regulations.
Let me listen to that one more time because maybe I misheard what he said. Let me listen to that one more time to make sure that it wasn't Mr. Rush or was it Mr. Rush that said that. Let me listen to that one more time just for the record.
Mr. Rush described the submarine industry as...
Okay, so he's talking about the submarine industry, okay, as a whole, not just himself.
obscenely safe, saying there hadn't been an accident in 35 years.
Oh, all right. So now we got the full gist of what he's saying. So Mr. Rush is basically saying that the submarine industry or the submersible industry haven't had any sort of accidents or anything in 35 years. So it's not just him saying this. He's speaking as a whole for the entire industry. And that's a good record that there was never no sort of tragedies. So if there was never a tragedy, that means that Mr. Rush would be following certain protocols that he see other people do. So why would there be a situation of a catastrophic implosion now? Think about that. But they want you to believe that he cut corners. He didn't cut no corners. He did everything by the books.
But the industry also hasn't grown or innovated because
they're showing you old footage of old designs by saying, oh, it haven't innovated, it haven't grown, it haven't this, all this other stuff. Again, to discredit the industry.
All the regulations, he added. If you want to be safe, he told CBS News just last year, don't get out of bed.
Wow. Notice that engineers raised the alarm. Now they're showing you more information about engineers was raising the alarm. Okay, cool. Where were all these engineers before the launch of the vessel? Where were they? Where were they? Let's go.
While Mr. Rush may have dismissed the danger in what he was doing, others did not.
So if others did not, why they didn't intervene? Why they didn't intervene if there was some sort of issue or problem that they were seeing? And where were all those news reports days before the launch of the vessel? Why now after the people allegedly have passed away?
And raised concerns for years.
If they raised concerns for years, why the government didn't get involved? If they raised concerns for years, and where are all the news reports and the videos and the data that could substantiate all of these claims? It's all lies and propaganda.
Before Titan disappeared, David Lockridge, who was hired by Mr. Rush to work on the sub, was embroiled in a lawsuit with Oceangate in 2018.
So in 2018, he was in a lawsuit? Really? Okay.
After being sacked.
After being sacked, I guess he was fired.
The company accused the former Royal Navy Marine engineer of trying to get fired after he penned a report criticizing their safety standards.
Wow.
According to court documents, Mr. Lockridge had raised concerns over the integrity of the sub's hull, its viewing window, which was only certified to 4,000 feet, not the 13,000 feet it would be diving to.
So you're telling me that it was certified for 4,000 feet, not to 13,000. So they didn't do no test runs of the vessel to see if it could withstand the pressure. That's what you're telling me? So you're telling me that Mr. Rush did not have any sort of tests so that they can verify whether the equipment was sound enough to make the trip. But they're going to take 5 people down in the deep with no test run. Let it make sense, ladies and gentlemen.
And flammable materials on board.
Flammable materials on board. Again, to discredit him as if though they had nothing but, it was just a safety risk at all times. It was just fire hazards, safety risk. They did not have the proper equipment. The material was cheap. Some materials they got at Target. You know, these are the type of stories they want to push out at you to shape public opinion.
He had urged Oceangate to get the craft certified and warned they would be otherwise subjecting passengers to extreme danger.
Do you see how all of this stuff is coming out now that the people are dead? Where was this while they were searching for the bodies? Where was this before Oceangate released everything? Where was this months before the launch? Nobody was talking about this. News media wasn't covering this. Nobody cared. It's only after the fact, because this is the story that they got to feed you so that you could believe that Mr. Stockton is a criminal. You understand? Shout out to Trending with Sharice for the super chat. Appreciate your support, so keep it up. Right? Let's get back to the tapes.
And he was not the only one. A letter sent to Mr. Rush from leaders in the submersible industry around the same time.
So let me get this straight. So around the same time, leaders from the submersible industry, all of them were sending Oceangate letters. All of a sudden, ladies and gentlemen, all of this propaganda want to come up.
Warned that his experimental approach...
Jealousy, that's exactly what it is. Jealousy and fame. It's jealousy. They were jealous of Mr. Rush because he was able to beat them to the punch. It's no different than when you have different countries having spacecraft launches into outer space. A lot of them try to beat one another to the punch to do the unthinkable in the outer space world. This is a fact, and it's the same thing with the submersible industry. These men are in great anticipation of finishing and designing these vessels to go underwater to do their research. And Mr. Rush beat them to the punch, and they're pissed off about that, fam. Shout out to Michelle for the $1.99. Says, Ringo, all of this is a gimmick. Shout out to CM for the 10. Appreciate your support. What they're doing is a gimmick in terms of the smear campaign. I believe that these men were murdered. And whatever Mr. Rush discovered, along with the other wealthy men that were on board, they were all executed because of what they seen. There's certain things in this country, fam, that they just don't want you to see. That's like if, let's say, for example, aliens landed in your backyard and you got video of it. And then they flew away and the authorities, the government realized that they landed by your house. Ladies and gentlemen, if you live in that house, I promise you, you're going to be gone. The government is not going to make you live. If you have videotape, they are going to kill you. I'm just telling you straight. Because if you air that footage, man, it's going to be something else because they don't want the world to know. See, aliens is real. There is such thing as aliens, spacecrafts, all of that stuff is real. You think the technology we have in the world we just got because everybody is just smart? No. A lot of this stuff come from other worlds. You have to understand that. But we think that we're the only ones in the universe. For some reason, we just, that's how closed-minded we are. We don't understand that there's other galaxies, there are other planets, right? Other solar systems, right? And the same way we make movies about these things is because it's real. These things are real. You understand? The powers that be have agreements with other extraterrestrial beings, if you would say, that offer them different things in exchange for technology. This is how they're doing it. If you look at the pyramids in the times of the Egyptians, how do you think they were able to even build those structures? They didn't have no cranes. They didn't have no machinery. They didn't have nothing. How did they do that? How could they build pyramids? How could they do that? How? It's virtually impossible. Look around the world. Look around the world. You have these different structures with stones that are placed on top of each other. Nobody could lift that. There was no machinery to do that. How did they do that? How did they do it, ladies and gentlemen? See? They had technology that was so advanced that they could move stuff with energy. We just don't know about it, but the government have tapped into various things. They know things that we don't know. See, the reason why I'm able to see these things is because I'm with the Most High. So the Most High is able to give me insight, even if I don't fully understand the workings of how everything is, but he gives me the utterance to be able to speak it. And then when I speak it, it makes sense. The government knows about these things. In the time of the Egyptians, when they build all these pyramids, they were using energy to move things. Things were being able to move with energy and light. They weren't using no trucks. They didn't have no cranes. They had nothing. You know, like how when you see skyscrapers and stuff being built in New York City and they have all these cranes lifting up all of these beams and all this other stuff. No, in those days, they were dealing with different energies that was allowing them to do things. They didn't have no watch, but they knew the time of the day. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. They had no watch, they had no calendar, they had nothing, but they knew the time and the seasons. They knew when it was going to rain. They understood the weather. See, it's us in these Americas that are dumbed down. You know, the real knowledge of life, the real knowledge of what's going on in the world is hidden from us. We're actually supernatural beings, but they have us in a prison, in an incubator, keeping us asleep, just like the Matrix in a tube. We'll fight to keep the life that we have. We don't want the red pill. We choose the blue pill because we want to eat a steak. We want the woman in the red dress. They keep us occupied with women and lust and the flesh and getting the bag and money and those other distractions, keeping us from the Most High, keeping us from the knowledge of the truth. And then we die and we go to hell. This is what they do to us. You understand? Let's get back to the tapes.
Was risking accidents that could be catastrophic.
They actually took our knowledge because we're the ones that had this knowledge. Trust and believe that, ladies and gentlemen. The knowledge that we had, our ancestors, they took this knowledge and then they benefited for themselves and they keep us at the bottom. And this affects every ethnic group, whether you're white, black, it doesn't really matter. The people that are at the top, that's behind the curtain, they really control everything. They know everything. You understand? And this is why the people are in subjection to all the laws of the land. And the minute you try to do anything outside the box, that's when they're going to come and delete you. That's how it goes.
Only 10 vehicles in the whole world that can go 4,000 meters or deeper. And all of them are certified, except the Titan.
Notice, except the Titan. This sounds like jealousy to me. It sounds like all of these other scientists and engineers was all jealous of Mr. Rush.
Chris Brown was one of Oceangate's early customers.
Chris Brown, interesting name. He was one of Oceangate's first customers.
And bought a ticket for £80,000.
Really?
After having a few beers with a friend.
So he had a few beers and bought a ticket.
Who knew about it.
Wow, interesting. Let's hear what he got to say.
But when Brown began asking questions...
So when he asked questions, what did he hear?
He quickly decided the voyage wasn't worth the risk.
Oh, so he paid for it, but then all of a sudden now it's not worth the risk. But he paid for it at first, right? Let it make sense, ladies and gentlemen. This is again to discredit Mr. Rush. Now, what if they would have found the men at sea and was able to rescue them? Would any of these videos be out? Would anybody be talking about any of these things? Of course not. But they're talking about it because they want you to believe that Mr. Rush's mission has failed when it didn't.
Parts of the submarine that I'd seen in the testing in the Bahamas just seemed a bit shoddy.
Wow.
They're using industrial piping for ballast. They're using an Xbox controller for the steering. The strip lightings, something you get at a DIY shop.
The sub was beset by delays and technical issues. And when Mr. Brown finally got to inspect it, he came away with the impression that designers had been cutting corners.
Wow.
But what really did it for me was they flatly refused to get any form of certification.
Notice they didn't get proper certification. This is what he's saying, right? And that's called cutting corners. What does any of this information have to do with how come the vessel lost communication with the crew in the ship at the top? How they lost communication? Nobody's talking about that. Where's the answers to those questions? How does $1 million vessel, how does that not communicate with above? How did it lose communication? That's the question that we need answered. Forget all of this smear campaign stuff. They're trying to distract us from what's really going on. You know, it's very serious stuff.
Arthur Lobel, a German man who did take a voyage on the Titan, described it to build as a suicide mission.
Wow. So where was him to be crying out in the public about it? These are all hypocrites. These are guys that were jealous of Mr. Rush. They didn't like him, and now that he's dead, they all got negative things to say.
And said he was lucky.
He was in there smiling with him. He was in there hanging out with them. But now he's saying it's a suicide mission? Come on, man. This guy's a hypocrite. It's a smear campaign.
Survive. At first, Lobel said, the submersible didn't work. Then the dive had to be abandoned when a part fell off and was reattached with zip ties. And finally, it was hit by electrical issues.
Now it's hit by electrical issues. Isn't that something? Hold on a second, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on a second. Okay, we back again. Let's go.
I was nervous that we have to go back because we got some problems like in the other dives with the battery systems.
Even Paul-Henri Nargolet, perhaps the world's most experienced Titanic explorer, had doubts. In an interview with media in his home country of France, he admitted that he did not trust the submersible's composite material design.
Let's see what it says there. It says on June 22nd, 2023, debris from the Titan submersible was found 500 yards from the Titanic wreck. Now notice that. They said that the vessel couldn't go only about 4,000 feet, not the 12 or 16,000. But yet it says that debris was found. Okay, where's the debris? Did they show you the debris, ladies and gentlemen? No, of course not. But they told you that's what it is, right? It says experts say it likely suffered a catastrophic implosion and all 5 passengers died. Hold up, do you know that's a fact or that's just speculation? Because it says that experts say likely suffered a catastrophic implosion, but they don't know that to be a fact. That's not a fact, ladies and gentlemen. The experts are saying it likely suffered. But how do we know that's true? What if it was torpedoed down? What if someone destroyed their vessel under the ocean? Have anybody ever think about that? What if there is military weaponry near the Titanic, guarding the Titanic? Have it ever dawned on you that that may be possible? Anything is possible. Hey, if man can put satellites out in space, I'm pretty sure man can put weapons in the ocean. Just like how they have nuclear weapons that are in the ocean. Do you know they have nuclear weapons in the ocean that can be launched? Do you know that? These are facts, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get back to the tapes. It's crazy stuff, man. And just in case you don't know, this particular news episode that I'm using here had a bunch of background music into it, but I have some AI software that can literally erase all background music and just only play the audio. You know what I'm saying? Very, very handy software, man. I don't know how they invent stuff like that, but it literally removes all the audio from the background, keeping just the vocal. And that's good for creators that use content and they don't want no copyright because of background music. Definitely a good software to have, man. But let me get back to the tapes. Let's go.
This Las Vegas billionaire and his son had planned to go on the fatal voyage of the submersible, but pulled out.
Notice that he pulled out. He was going to go, but he pulled out. But now they want to talk about them negatively.
Oceangate CEO Stockton Rush scoffed at their fears, texting, "It's
scoffed at their fears. Look at that.
Way safer than flying in a helicopter or even scuba diving. My son's friend researched what could go wrong and put a little scare in him," financier Jay Bloom texted Rush. But Rush dismissed their fears as stupid stuff.
How do you feel about that now?
Stockton actually believed what he was saying. His intentions were good. He had a good heart.
Notice he said his intentions was good and he had a good heart. His intentions was good and he had a good heart. But that's not what people are saying today. They're saying that he's a monster and a criminal.
Good man. He believed he drank his own Kool-Aid.
Seemingly desperate to fill empty seats,
Notice the news lady said that he was desperate to fill empty seats. Do you see how they're trying to make him look like he's greedy now for money? This is what they're saying. And if you notice, all around them, there's cameras, ladies and gentlemen. There are cameras inside of the vessel. In the background, there's cameras. Why we don't have footage of what was going on in that vessel? Why they're not showing us if these men really were in that vessel, if they really perished, then where is the footage? Come on, man. Where's the black box? How are you going to have a vessel, right? And you don't have a way of having documents of the voyage. Because if it's a high-risk voyage and there's a possibility you're going to perish, at least if they were able to find the vessel, there would be a black box that have all of the pertinent information of what took place before the catastrophic event. Just for research purposes, to educate the community, to give your family, for research, education, science. It would be a valuable resource to have. So, of course, there has to be a black box on board somewhere. You understand? But they told you that the body's disintegrated. This is what they told you, ladies and gentlemen. They told you that because of this implosion, that their bodies disintegrated. So there's no way you can find their bodies. But you believe that they died, right? You really believe that. Okay, cool. There's no video showing them getting into the craft. There's no video. None. Where is the video of the 5 men entering the ship to go underwater? You understand? I do believe that it was a blood sacrifice, Amanda. I do believe that these men were a ritual sacrifice. A ritual sacrifice towards whatever demonic activity went on the day of the Titanic. I'm not sure if there's any anniversary coming up. I don't know. I don't know what year, day, time the Titanic sank. I don't have that information. But I'm pretty sure that this voyage that they took have or may be connected to some sort of anniversary or some sort of timing, especially with people that are into numerology and various other stuff like that. They could probably put the puzzle together. But this is unlikely that this was supposed to happen. These men were sacrificed. Sacrificed to the demons that were behind all of the souls that was lost. Think about the number of souls that was lost during the Titanic sinking. Thousands of people bawling out in agony as they went down into the deep and drowned. Falling into the wreckage, burning. Babies and everybody. Think about that. It was a mess, a major sacrifice, while all the rich people were able to escape.
Offered Bloom and his son a $200,000 discount.
So they were getting a $200,000 discount.
Last minute price is $150,000 per passenger, he wrote, but they passed. Instead, Jay Bloom and his son Sean's places were taken by Pakistani mogul Shahzada Dawood and his son.
I see that father and son that took the seats that we passed on. And but for the grace of God, that could be our picture.
Do they sound like they are with God? Do they sound like somebody that escaped death? They don't sound like that. They sound like crisis actors. They don't sound like men that escaped death and they're excited about the fact that that could have been them. They don't sound like that. They're too calm, cool, and collected.
Discovery Channel host Josh Gates took a test drive on the Titan and posted, "I walked away due to my safety concerns."
Notice that. He walked away due to his safety concerns. Really. But they smiling. They smiling and cheesing, right? But safety concerns.
BBC cameras captured the chilling moments on a voyage last year when it was discovered an engine had been, get this, put on backwards.
One of the thrusters is thrusting backwards right now.
Look at that passenger's reaction. The mission went ahead anyway.
Notice that. He said one of the engines are thrusting backwards. The woman said something else. Totally taking it out of context. Do you see that? I don't think y'all caught that. Let me play that. Let me try to play that again.
Discovered an engine had been, get this, put on backwards.
One of the thrusters is thrusting backwards right.
He said one of the thrusters is thrusting backwards right now. Think about that. One of the thrusters is thrusting backwards right now.
Look at that passenger's reaction. The mission went ahead anyway. The most serious structural flaw may have been...
Notice how they find in all these little clips to make you think that the vessel that the men were on had the same problem. Do you see how they could just give you one piece of information and it'll just make you think negative of the whole project? You understand? That's like a prototype of a car at a showroom. And then when the new model come out, when the official model is released, we think that it have the same parts. No, it's totally different.
Using carbon fiber and titanium in the pressure hull. Famed director James Cameron, whose film Titanic is the 4th most popular movie of all time, appeared on Good Morning America with Bob Ballard.
Why would you listen to that guy? Why would you listen to that guy that's a part of the whole film Titanic? Why would you listen to him? He's a mastermind. Listen, he's a mastermind behind propaganda. Why do you think they brought him out, fam, to speak? Why do you think they did that? You can't take nothing that man you can't take nothing he say serious, fam. You can't take nothing that man say serious.
The explorer who discovered the Titanic wreck.
The Achilles heel of the sub was the composite cylinder that was the main hull that the people were inside. That carbon fiber composite cylinder is now just in very small pieces.
Bob Ballard has known Stockton Rush for 20 years.
His dream was to go down and explore the Titanic. But
did he look like a friend that knew him for 20 years or a robot that been cloned? Let it make sense.
Unfortunately, that dream turned into a nightmare.
Debris from the Titan was discovered just 500 yards from the Titanic.
Notice that. That means that they were near the Titanic. Something took them out, ladies and gentlemen. Something took them out. Do you understand? Now think about this, ladies and gentlemen. They wanted you to believe that they ran out of air. Remember that? Remember that? Oh, they ran out of air. They only have 96 hours of air. They only have listen, fam, they already had it calculated on how the trip was going to be. The trip was not going to take them 96 hours or whatever the case is to do the trip. Do you understand? It was just like 2 miles or whatever the case is, or what's so underwater or whatever the case is like that. That does not take 96 hours. It was already calculated. Somebody blew that vessel up, fam. They were already down there. They were at the ground level. They were at the sea floor. They were on their way to do what they had to do. And someone took them out. There was no implosion. Why? They already made it there. Talking about, oh, you know, the debris was all over the bottom. Well, how did y'all find that out? Oh, I get it. At the last minute when y'all decided to put a little robot down there. So what was all of the resources of all these different agencies talking about they're a part of the search? Nobody was underwater looking. Ladies and gentlemen, nobody was underwater looking. The only one that's buffering is you at this point. You're buffering. You understand? You're buffering, not me. You're buffering. Nothing buffering on my end, and everybody else is good to go. You're the one buffering. Refresh your phone. Right? Let's get back to the tapes.
The submersible is believed to have sustained a catastrophic implosion.
A catastrophic implosion. This is what they're running all over the media. Catastrophic implosion. Let's go.
Less than 2 hours after starting its descent.
After 2 hours. Now notice this, ladies and gentlemen. If it happened after 2 hours, why was there a rescue mission? Why on Monday they were rescuing, Tuesday rescuing, Wednesday rescuing? Why? Thursday, now they want to give us bad news. Come on, fam. The news media was lying to us the whole time, making us believe that there was a possibility they could be saved when they already knew the men were dead. They were milking the system, ranking in millions of views. Look at all these news channels all over YouTube. You know how much views they were able to make off of this? Do you know how many videos they post that are getting millions upon millions of views? You know what that equals in dollars in ad revenue? These companies are making millions of dollars off the death of 5 men with lies and propaganda. All of them, not just social media, but also the local networks too. You know what I'm saying? As J144 said, networks too. Yeah, all over, newspapers, everything. Everybody's making money off their death.
The 5 passengers apparently did not suffer.
Uh-oh, check this out. The 5 passengers did not suffer. Here we have a news anchor. She's not an engineer. She's not a scientist. She don't know a damn thing, but she's telling you that they did not suffer.
Death came to them in a flash, just 30 thousandths of a second.
Okay, so let's put you in one of those vessels, send you under the ocean so that you can experience the implosion. And let's see if you have the same thoughts. Let's see if you have the same sentiments. How could you, ma'am, say that these men didn't suffer, that they didn't have no... In other words, she's trying to say that their death happened so fast, they didn't even know that they died. In other words, to give comfort to everybody that these men, they went out quick, painless. It's not like they suffered. It's not like they drowned. It's not like they felt pain, bled. It was instant. This is what she's saying.
There are apparently no remains to recover. The bodies were disintegrated.
So the bodies were disintegrated. Isn't that interesting? How convenient. So you mean to tell me we can't find no DNA to even prove that these men exist? Really? So you mean to tell me we cannot find no DNA to prove that these men even was in that vessel? Come on, y'all. They lying to us. They're lying to us because now they're saying that their bodies disintegrated. So now they're food for the ocean, food for the scavengers, right? So now all of the scavengers going to be out there eating, you know, your shrimps, your lobsters, all those different things, all those different things that you love to eat, right? They're eating human flesh now. That's what you people be eating out there. You love eating scavengers and all that other mess. Well, it is what it is, man. Depending on where they at, locations where shrimps could be at in various other oceans and seas and different places. Only fishermen and them know where all those locations are. I don't know. I'm not a fisherman. But at the end of the day, let's just get back to the case here because it is what it is.
And we're learning that the youngest passenger, 19-year-old Suleiman Dawood, was terrified but agreed to go with his dad.
That's a lie. That's a big lie, what they said right there, that the young man was terrified. That is a lie. That's propaganda. They're spreading misinformation. It's a joke. None of that is true. How could they just come out of the blue and say, oh, he was terrified? Where was the auntie while they were searching to say that the young man was terrified? Where's that video? Where's that video? Yeah, they probably found the gold that went down with the ship. That's another fact. Because on board the Titanic was gold, ladies and gentlemen. Gold. A lot of gold. Do you understand? Great wealth was on board, fam. Great wealth. And it all went down. You understand? Trust and believe that, man. And even to this day, you have a lot of people that are still trying to get a hold of that wealth. You know what I mean? You know what it would be like for you to just grab 1 bar of gold? You know how much that value at, fam? And there's men that will risk life and limb just to get near it. Because once they could discover that it's down there, now they can get back to the surface, send a robot down there to retrieve the gold. And this has been what a lot of these men been trying to do in their explorations. This is what they're trying to do. Let's go.
As a Father's Day gift, his distraught aunt appeared on the Today Show.
Now, all of a sudden, his distraught aunt is on the Today Show, but she's not crying. Not a wink of tears is coming out of her eyes.
Know that my Sully didn't feel a moment's pain, that his brain didn't even realize. That's relief.
Notice, she didn't even say anything, but the news media is telling us that the aunt said that the young man was terrified. I didn't hear her say not one word about him being terrified. That's a lie. They lying. She did not say anything about the young man being terrified. The news media is pushing out lies with crisis actors. That's what they're doing, fam.
We could start to see, right, the mothership of the Titan vessel, the Polar Prince, and other rescue ships returning.
Yeah, Aaron. In fact, we have been monitoring boat traffic in the last several minutes, and we see that there are two ships that are returning right here to where we are, Harborside in St. John's. One of them is a Canadian Coast Guard ship, and the other is a private vessel. Both of them had been participating in the search and rescue mission.
How could they participate in a search and rescue when they're not underwater? They're not under the ocean looking for anything. That's a stage, ladies and gentlemen. Crisis actors. They have to set the stage for what they're doing. There could be something else going on in this world, and we're all being distracted by this Oceangate story when there could be solar flares happening or aliens landing or some sort of climatic change going on in the world, but we don't know about it because our mind is occupied with who's at fault concerning this wreckage of this vessel.
And they're returning to shore. Also coming back here to where we are is the Polar Prince. Now, the Polar Prince had been operating as a mothership to the Titan, and the Polar Prince is carrying what is left of Oceangate's crew.
Wow, so they're carrying the rest of Oceangate's crew.
Now, you can just imagine what that crew has been through over the last several days. First, losing contact with their vessel on Sunday, then trying to look for it, trying to attempt some sort of rescue, only to learn of that catastrophic implosion.
Notice catastrophic implosion. They got to keep ringing that in your mind. Catastrophic implosion. Catastrophic implosion. They want to make a believer out of you, but did you see it? Did any of you see this catastrophic implosion? Of course not. You didn't see anything, but you believe it, right? Because why? Because they said it 1,000 times. So of course you're going to believe whatever they tell you, but you don't even believe in God. You don't even believe in the Bible, right? So let me get this straight. You don't believe in God. You don't believe in the Bible. The Bible is man-made, right? But when the news media tell you that there was a catastrophic implosion, you believe it instantly. Wow. It just goes to show the mentality of people, man. Shout out to Trending with Sharice for another super chat. $10 super chat says, at my job at Amazon, people were ordering Titanic Lego pieces. People fall for anything, 100%. Thank you, Ringo, for covering this. 100. Appreciate your support and contributions to the stream. People buying Titanic Lego pieces, man. Imagine that. This story made people think of the Titanic enough to buy Lego parts, man. That's crazy, man. But let's get back to the tape.
Now, even though the Polar Prince is returning here to port, it doesn't mean that the recovery mission is over.
Why would listen, what do you mean? I thought there was a so-called implosion. So if the recovery mission is not over, what are they recovering? Come on, y'all. If the recovery mission is not over, then what are they doing?
In fact, the remote operating vehicle that first found the debris of the vessel is back out on a second mission. That's the Odysseus, and it is back out at the bottom of the ocean.
Notice, now the government's machine is at the bottom doing its own mission. Do you see what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Do you see how the government now stepped in to do their mission behind the mission of Mr. Rush? Do you see how they just got him out of the way and sent in their robotic machines, their high-tech equipment? Notice that. Now the government sent in their high-tech equipment to do the job. So now they're recovering everything that the other men were going to get. That's what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. Think about this. For all you know, the 5 men didn't even go inside the vessel. They probably remotely sent the submarine underwater to go do the job. You see that? But they want you to believe that they're inside of it because they executed them, allegedly. Let's get back to the tape.
As we speak, and it's mapping the area where the...
No, there's going to be no lawsuits. If you've been paying attention to the news, there could be no lawsuits concerning this situation. You understand? No lawsuits. It could be no lawsuits. Basically, Oceangate is covered based on various different forms, and everything has been brushed under the rug. Literally, everybody that died, they're just gone, and there's nothing you can do about it at this point.
Debris might be found. That is going to be critical information, especially now that we know that the Canadian Transportation Board is conducting an investigation. They're going to need that information in order to figure out what happened here.
Now notice, they're down there trying to recover the black box, ladies and gentlemen. Like I told you, they are trying to recover the black box. They have different equipment under the ocean right now around that Titanic, gathering the information, everything that Mr. Rush and his crew was able to obtain. They're now stealing it. You know, like all the inventions that various people claim they invented, but really it wasn't invented by them. You know, like how a black man invented this and then a white man came and stole the idea or stole the invention and patented it and, you know, made a patent out of it and claimed victory over it when it wasn't invented by him. You know, do you know how many inventions black men have made, but yet a Caucasian man came by and took the credit? You ever seen how many things? Could anybody in the chat name a few things that black men have invented that you use every day? Let me see if anybody is studied. Let me see. Name some things that black men have invented that people use every day. Think about it. Let's see. Let's see. It's something y'all use every morning. It's something y'all use every morning. Everybody's saying traffic lights. We get it already. Let's see what else we got. There's something you use every morning when you get up. There's a book, ladies and gentlemen, that you can literally buy. I don't got the name of it off the top, but there's a book you can buy that have all inventions made by black men. You know what I'm saying? They made a lot of stuff, man. And a lot of our inventors have been killed, murdered, executed in order for someone else to take credit for their inventions. You know? A lot of y'all just repeating the same thing at this point.
And whether it could have been prevented. Aaron?
All right, Gloria, thank you very much. And out front now, as promised, Jay Bloom and his son, Sean. Jay gave up their seats on the Titan for
So nobody here used the toilet?
this trip. Another father and son did take those seats. They went on the Titan and, as we know, sadly and tragically lost their lives. So I appreciate both of you taking the time to talk to me about this. Jay, I know initially you and Sean were both very intrigued by taking a trip on the Titan, right? You're in that small group of people, right, that just have that intrepid curiosity.
Notice how they make these people out to be the authority, because this is supposed to be another billionaire guy and his son who need to hit the gym, but for some reason money is not telling him that he have to get his health right. Do you see how a person can have money, come from a family of money, but they don't understand how to get their health in order? Have you ever noticed that? These are crisis actors, people. Crisis actors. They always appear out of the blue. And what's funny about this is that nobody could verify who these men are. Nobody could really say who they are because the CEO is dead. So it's not like he can verify that this guy is true. But the news media is going to use these crisis actors to make you believe it.
We're curious about it. When you first learned that the Titan was missing, and then on those days they were hoping for rescue, you're imagining, like everybody else, but for you it's different, that it could have been you down there, right? Gasping for air. Then you find out it imploded. And you keep seeing images of the father and son who did take your seats. What went through your mind?
Well, it's a very surreal experience in the beginning. You know,
he's a crisis
you're
actor.
Supposed to be on that, or you had the opportunity to be on that sub, and
these guys are crisis actors, man. You could just see that they act and they don't really know what they're doing. It's very clear.
You see all this. It's everywhere we looked, and the most haunting thing about it is when you look at the news and open my laptop, on social media, on television. It was everywhere. And they'd show pictures of the people who lost their lives. And all I could see when I saw that father and son was myself and my son. That could have been us in that picture.
Wow.
And Sean, I mean, obviously, the other young man there, he was 19, you're 20, right? I mean, it is eerie, the parallels. What did you first think when you learned what happened?
When the news initially broke, before the news initially broke, when we were considering actually going on the submarine ourselves, one of the safety concerns I had before getting on was literally about the structural integrity of the submarine.
You were concerned about the structural integrity of the submarine rather than the structural integrity of your own health? Do you see this? Do you see how this guy is full of crap? Think about this. Why would this young man be concerned about the structural integrity of the vessel? Do you see how he's playing along with the agenda in the smear campaign? How everything is about the structural integrity of the vessel? Are y'all all seeing this? Why would this young 20-year-old be interested in the structural integrity of the vessel? Think about that. He's not no expert. He's not an engineer. He's not involved in any of this fabrication of these type of vessels, but he think he's an expert now. Think about that. This is a smear campaign.
Before we got on, I saw a video of Stockton.
He saw a video
explaining how the submarine worked.
So he saw a video. So his assessment of the whole thing is based off of a video.
With the remote and everything like that, and I saw a lot of.
So you're concerned with the remote, but yet we use those same type of remotes to control drones, right? You can go buy yourself a $5,000 drone and it'll have a controller. All those controllers use the same technology, whether it's an Xbox controller, a PlayStation controller, it's a tool. That's all it is. People keep looking at these things like it's a video game controller. It's not important. It's cheap. Listen, it's a controller. No different than that cheap steering wheel on your car. It's the same thing. It's just a steering wheel. That's it. Costs a few dollars. You get what I mean? But under the hood of that car is where the real technology is. You got to understand this, man. Some people just don't understand how the technology works, fam.
Flags with it, and it was only meant for 5 people, and I just didn't think that it could survive, going that low into the ocean.
So he was concerned about them going that far in the ocean, that low. A 20-year-old is concerned about these issues, ladies and gentlemen. Let it make sense.
Ultimately, I ended up warning my dad about it, and he ended up.
So you warned your dad about it. So your dad didn't know about it. You warned him about it. Okay.
Agreeing with me, and when we tried to ask Stockton questions, he kind of brush it off a little bit.
So you asked Stockton, he brushed it off. You asked Stockton, he's brushed it off. And then what happened? Because your father's sitting there still because he's a crisis actor. He clearly is being paid to do this nonsense. Or he has a gun to his head by the powers that be for you guys to talk. How is it that you guys are flown into a studio so that y'all can literally talk to the media? Who authorized this? Who put this together? How did you even contact these people to even talk about this? How simple it is to do this. Come on, man. This is all orchestrated, fam. This is all orchestrated. The news media is not just going to gather you to let you come to their station to talk about these things just like that without you being a part of the agenda. You have to be a part of the agenda in order to get on their platform to even talk. Let's go.
So it's kind of red flags from the start. And then when the story came out, on the first day, initially we thought that the first thing we thought is that the submarine imploded because it's very difficult for a submarine of that size to get to the bottom of the ocean.
So let me get this straight. It's in his mind, a submarine of that size cannot get to the bottom of the ocean. A 20-year-old, he's not no engineer. He's not an expert. He have no knowledge of anything. But they're letting him talk on the national stage about this. But yet the Coast Guard is able to put a robot under the ocean that gets to the bottom of the ocean, right? That didn't implode it. That has no structural issues. That's perfectly fine. Everything is good. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. They're doing the same thing with this situation as they do with people that go out of space, with people that do various things. Make you fear that you can't go that deep. And Rush knew that his vessel could go that deep. Don't listen to these lies. Oh, if you go that low, you'll get crushed. Oh, if you go that low, the pressure of the ocean is going to do this. Lies. All of those things are lies. Those are lies to scare you away. Those are lies. All of those things are lies to discourage you from being an adventurer, to be an engineer, to be a scientist, to go to the depths of figuring it out and exploring the world. They don't want you to think outside the box. So they try to make you believe that somehow you are like inferior, that you can't go that deep, but yet they go that deep. The powers that be have always traveled deep into the ocean to do all their research and to gather different sorts of, resources from under the ocean that we are unable to get, but they're able to get it. But they don't want you to have access to it.
And not implode. But that was the first thing that went through our head, was it either imploded or it got stuck under the Titanic on the first day.
Matthew, I'm going to tell you this one time and one time only. If you post that same comment again, I'm going to block you. Do you understand me? If you post that same comment again, I'm going to block you. Do you understand? How many times are you going to post the same thing? You want attention? I'm giving you attention now. You post a comment one more time, I'm blocking you.
And I know, you had these concerns. Jay, what's interesting is you had an exchange with Stockton Rush in April. He says, quote, have space on mission 1 and 2 last minute. Price is $150 per person. You reply, I'll check my schedule and see if I can make it work. 3 days later, he says, any luck? And at one point, I know that he went to Vegas. He actually traveled to Vegas to see you, to try to meet with you, to close the deal. Now, Jay's sitting here talking about red flags. What about that trip raised a red flag to you? I mean, he came all the way to see you to try to get you to buy these tickets.
Yeah. Stockton, I think his heart was in the right place, and he really...
Now he's saying that Stockton's heart was in the right place. Which one is it? Y'all here discrediting him, but y'all saying that his heart was in the right place? If his heart was in the right place, then he ain't mean to harm nobody, because he didn't harm nobody. You guys are crisis actors, and your job is to pretty much make him look like a bad guy. Just look at the other guy throwing up the pyramid, man. Y'all can't see who these people working for? Come on, man. Let's get back to the tapes, man.
He was passionate about his project, and he believed everything he was saying.
Yeah, he did believe everything that he was saying because it was believable, because he knew what he was doing. He was an engineer. He had years of experience, and y'all trying to discredit him.
But one of the things that concerned me was he told me...
Yeah, he's reading the script. You're right about that. Let me see who said that. Somebody said, Perry says, reading the script. Yeah, you see him. He was looking to the side, reading the script. Wow. Wow, good catch. Wow. He was reading the script, ladies and gentlemen. They caught him reading the script.
He was flying in to see me, and he was landing at North Las Vegas Airport, which is an odd selection. Most people that come in privately come into either McCarran, which is now Harry Reid International.
He's definitely reading off of something, man. He looking down, he's reading off of something. Wow, these people are evil, man. They evil.
They come into Henderson Executive. And I asked him why, and he said he was coming in on a two-seater experimental plane that he built.
Notice a two-seater experimental plane that he built. Notice how they trying their best to just discredit anything this man built, man. The topic is not about what he built. The topic is about how did this vessel lose communication? Could anybody answer that question? With all of these engineers and all of these government officials, none of them could answer the question because they know what really happened. And they don't want the public to know. So they're painting this narrative of, oh, let's just focus on the structural integrity of the vessel so we could discredit him. But they're not talking about why it even lost contact to begin with. Losing contact has nothing to do with materials. Losing contact have nothing to do with nuts and bolts. Losing contact have nothing to do with fiberglass or carbon fiber or anything. They're making you think outside of the scope of what really happened. They're hiding the truth, ladies and gentlemen.
And I started to think about, he's coming in on a two-seater experimental plane to pitch me out to go on a 5-seater experimental sub that he built down to the ocean floor to see the Titanic.
Notice the son laughed. Y'all ain't noticed that? The son just laughed. There's nothing funny about this. Why did he even laugh about this thing, man? But this is what they're doing, man.
And he has a different risk appetite than I do.
Wow.
I'm a pilot. I have my helicopter pilot's license. I wouldn't get into an experimental aircraft.
I mean, that
So he wouldn't get into experimental aircraft, but yet they paid, right? They were going to be on board. They were going to go. They were entertaining the possibility of going, but now they're speaking negative of the man. Are y'all seeing what's going on here?
Sean, when you think about what happened here and how close you were to being on this, right? I mean, I know that you all thought about it. Did you ever convey to Stockton Rush safety concerns? I mean, I know at one.
Why would a 20-year-old that is not an engineer be telling an engineer about safety concerns or any of these different things? When you aboard an airplane, ladies and gentlemen, how many of you, before you get on board an airplane, how many of you have your luggage and before you get on board, you start to voice your concerns about safety and X, Y, and Z? I just want to know, how many of you do that? How many of you, when you get on a subway, you ask the conductor, is it safe? Is it safe to get on board this train? Is all the nuts and bolts screwed in? Is the structural integrity of this train able to get me to A to Z? Like, do you do that? When you get on the local bus, do you ask them about these things? When you take the ferry in New York, do you ask about is it safe? You don't ask. Nobody asks nothing like this. So for her to ask a 20-year-old who is not an engineer to question an engineer with years of experience, it's crazy. It makes no sense.
Point, Jay, you talked about a friend of Sean's who was worried about things like a squid hitting it, and he dismissed those concerns. But did you talk to him about some of your serious structural issues and worries that you had?
Yeah, he came out to Las Vegas in March to see me. We met a couple of times in person, but the March trip, he came out. He actually took me through the Titanic exhibition at the Luxor, and then we had lunch after. And we talked about the expedition.
He can't even find the words. He's lying.
That he wanted to go on, and he walked me through it. And then we talked about the safety concerns. And I think he had so much passion for the project that he was blinded by it. He wasn't objective.
Wow, so he's blinded by it. Do you see the smear campaign? So now they're blaming Mr. Rush that he was blinded by his own ambitions. Do you see how the media works, ladies and gentlemen? Smear campaigns. This is how it works, ladies and gentlemen. These people were jealous of Mr. Rush the whole time. They were haters. And this is supposed to be some billionaire. This is what they tell you. Billionaire from where? Who? Who is he? Where he at? What'd he do? But they want you to believe him.
And he didn't look at things that I saw and that others saw that were problematic because it just didn't fit his narrative.
What was problematic and what did you see? Again, what did these people see that are not engineers? What did they see? How could you tell an engineer about his product concerning safety issues when you're not an engineer, you don't know anything? What could you tell them? See? And where was this guy to talk about these things before the vessel went underwater? Where was this interview on the news? How come he wasn't there talking about this? About his safety concerns for the launch, and he's concerned about those that went down before it all happened. Where was this video? This is all after the fact. Why? Because it's a smear campaign to discredit Stockton Rush.
Sean,
it's unfortunate.
It's tragic. And Sean, I began by saying you and your dad are the kinds of people who would consider something like this. You're already in a small group, right, of people who find this to be something that could, instill curiosity as
a small group. A small group. You mean in the elite? That's the small group. The elite. Because if his father is a billionaire, he's in an elite group. That's why she said a small group that would find this interesting.
Opposed to, right? So
they're giving away themselves, ladies and gentlemen. If you listen very carefully, man, they're exposing who they are and where they work. A lot of these people that are a part of the secret societies, man, they are dealing with the devil, man. These people are satanic individuals, man.
you now? Is this changed how you see it? Would you ever consider doing a trip like this again now that you've seen this?
Notice this. Would you ever consider a trip like this? Would you ever consider it? This is to add more discredit to the company so that they can pretty much shut down Oceangate.
I mean, it's very sad and tragic that I kind of predicted this outcome. My dad
Wow, so he predicted the outcome all of a sudden, a 20-year-old with no experience.
was very excited to go, and he was very excited to take me because I was obsessed with the Titanic as a little kid, and I was really looking forward to doing it. But the second I saw the submarine and how it worked, like I knew that one of the first outcomes.
Notice how he keep looking to his right. You see that?
And my friend Simon, actually, that friend that everyone was talking about, we both knew immediately that this submarine couldn't make it to the bottom of the ocean.
So he believed that this sub couldn't make it to the bottom of the ocean. So y'all all knew that this sub couldn't make it to the bottom of the ocean. You don't got no videos on social media showing you. Nobody never heard of this guy. Nobody know who this guy is. Who is this guy? Who is this guy? Nobody know who this guy is. Why he's not on social media telling everybody that that sub would not make it to the bottom of the ocean. All of this is coming out at the end after people died, allegedly. Now all of a sudden he's saying, oh, I predicted that it wasn't going to reach the bottom. But yet, he never answered the question of would he do it.
And it's sad that our prediction came true.
Our prediction? I thought it was your prediction. Now it's our prediction. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. He said our prediction. He said our prediction, but first he said it was his prediction. Now it's our prediction. Why? Because he's a part of a group, an elite. You understand? And his job is to do damage control to pretty much shape public opinion by joining the smear campaign to do his part because of the group. You know what I mean? They have to get rid of Mr. Rush by making his credibility go down. And this is what they're doing right now.
But as far as us doing something like this ever again, I mean, the ocean is scarier than space. We know more about space than we do about the ocean. And
notice that. They know more about space than the ocean.
It's
Notice he said we. Who is we? Because I don't know nothing about space, to tell you the truth. I've been on this planet. I ain't leaving. I am not going out of space. I'm not trying to go in the ocean. He said we know more about space than the ocean. So who is he with and who is his father affiliated with? The elite, fam. They're all a part of the elite.
definitely not something we're ever going to be trying to do again. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
He's lying.
Not for us, you know?
Now they trying to discredit and discourage other people from being a part of any of these voyages. I'm telling you, this is how the powers that be shape public opinion.
Well, I'm glad you're both together and you're safe, and I know you have an appreciation for that now that you didn't have. You just, couldn't tangibly have even days ago. So thank you both very much.
They seem very calm to be people that was going to go on that voyage. They seem too calm. If I would have been them too, right, and I knew I was supposed to be on that vessel, I would not be so calm, cool, and collected. These guys are crisis actors. They're not even real. Now, this particular clip is from Inside Edition. I just took this screenshot because of a video where it says, billionaire says he backed out. That's the video clip that we just finished watching. And I'm looking at the description area and how it says that it's way safer than flying in a helicopter or even scuba diving. Desperate to fill empty seats, Rush offered Bloom and his son a $200,000 discount. I don't like the way they did that, how they said that Rush was desperate to fill empty seats. First of all, there were no seats on the vessel, so he's not trying to fill anything that's empty. And to say that he was rushing and desperate to fill empty seats is to make the man out to be thirsty for money. You get what I'm saying? So it's really designed to make him look bad, man. They talk about how Las Vegas billionaire Jay Bloom and his son, Sean, had planned to go on the doomed Titanic voyage. Notice how they label it, doomed Titanic voyage, but pulled out. A friend of Bloom's son researched what could go wrong, and it scared Sean. You see how that works? Do you see how all of this stuff shapes public opinion? Sad, man. Man, These people are dangerous out here, fam.
The submersible carrying 5 people to the wreckage of the Titanic imploded, killing everyone on board.
How do you know it imploded? Where's the video of that? Where's the data that substantiates that? Come on, are we just going to believe anything the news just tell us? Where's the footage? Where's the documents? Where's the wreckage? Where's the wreckage? Could anybody show me the plane that hit the Pentagon? Could anybody show me it? Could anyone show me the plane that they told you hit the Pentagon? Could anybody show me that plane? Because there was no plane. Uh-oh. 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 Did that get your attention? I hope it did.
The U.S. Coast Guard revealing that heartbreaking news Thursday afternoon. Brian Yennis with Fox News has been following this and joins us now live from Boston here with the latest. Obviously,
what hit the Pentagon was an actual missile. Anybody that denies that is just out of their mind.
Brian, a very sad update that we did get from the U.S. Coast Guard.
Yeah, Josh, sad indeed. A real tragedy here for those 5 individuals on board the Titan sub and their friends and family who found out yesterday that the Coast Guard believes and the investigation.
Why do you think they got Alex Jones up off of YouTube? Let it make sense, Sam. Those of you who knew of Alex Jones back in the days, you knew what he was covering. Let's just keep that in mind, fam. Let's go.
Believe that their submarine, the Titan, catastrophically imploded on its descent to the Titanic shipwreck. In terms of timing, we aren't exactly sure about when this implosion or explosion happened. We do know, though, that communications with the Titan sub completely stopped.
All right, so where did that stop and how did that stop? Why communication stopped? Why did communication stop? Why are we busy talking about structural integrity of the submersible vessel rather than talking about how did it lose communication? How could it lose communication, ladies and gentlemen? The technology is there for them to communicate. How could it lose communication? Nobody's talking about that. You understand? Nobody is talking about these things. You know? It's really sad how people are not thinking outside the box.
Communications an hour and 45 minutes into its descent toward the Titanic shipwreck. We know that there were...
Notice, he says an hour and 40-something minutes into its trip is when it imploded. If that's the case, that means that this all happened on Sunday, right? So why on Monday, the U.S. government and various other governments around the globe are all embarking on a rescue mission, right? A rescue mission using all sorts of resources, taxpayer dollars, all sorts of resources, and nobody went under the ocean for days. From Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all the way to Thursday. Then all of a sudden now they want to put some robot down in the ocean that claim that they allegedly found debris from the so-called wreckage. Think about that. Why wasn't this equipment deployed on Sunday? And not only that, ladies and gentlemen, there is a lot of foul play going on. I don't have the article in front of me, but there is an article that talks about how there's a particular company. This is verified information. These are facts that I'm saying. You can look it up for yourself. There is a company or whatsoever that Oceangate reached out to use their equipment and their special radios and various other things that could pick up the signal and locate the vessel. And guess what? Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The government prevented them from using their resources to help out with the search. That's right. It's documented. Look it up, ladies and gentlemen. Do all your Google searches and look it up before they take it down. They literally stopped. They stopped a company that have the resources that could have found the vessel, that could have located them easy. The government prevented them from moving forward. That's right. This is a fact. You can look it up. This is why I'm telling you it's an inside job. They knew what they were doing. They didn't want nobody to help them. They wanted them to perish. That was the whole goal. You know what I mean? Look it up. Do your Google research. I guarantee you'll find it. I guarantee you will find it. And when you find it, you know I wasn't playing. You'll know I wasn't playing. Shout out to Godson81 for the super chat. Appreciate your support. Says he was getting He was getting too close to something, not Titanic. That's right. That's right. Whatever it was around the Titanic. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it was. Listen, why would anybody want to go under the sea, under the ocean, just to get a glimpse of the Titanic? Why would anybody do that? There's something greater. Something that's greater. That's a once in a lifetime thing. And they wanted to go and be a part of it. Trust and believe that, man.
2 debris fields that were found. Here is the Rear Admiral in yesterday's press conference. Listen.
The debris is consistent with a catastrophic implosion.
But you ain't seen the implosion, so stop lying.
Of the vessel. Upon this determination, we immediately notified the families.
So if you notified the families immediately, right? If you immediately notified the families, why throughout the week everybody was on a search for the wreckage and making the public believe that they still have oxygen? These people are liars. These people are liars. Do you see the lies, ladies and gentlemen? Because it's the U.S. who pretty much claim that they heard this alleged implosion on Sunday. And they claim that they immediately notified the families. So if you notified the families that there was an implosion, why there was coverage, news coverage all throughout the week, claiming that they running out of air, making us panic, making us be at the edge of our seats like we were watching a movie. Why? Because the news media was milking the system, making millions of dollars. They had everybody glued to the TV looking for updates. Every 10 seconds, there's a new update. There's a new update. There's a new update. And the whole time, these men already knew that it imploded, and they already told family. Look what it says. U.S. Navy detected Titanic sub implosion via top secret audio system. Ladies and gentlemen, did you get that? Top secret audio system. My goodness. We got 673 in the building. Let's get them likes up to 673, fam. Let's get them likes up. We're doing a great job right now with this live stream, fam. Notice this. The U.S. Navy, fam. The U.S. Navy knew in advance that the Titanic sub implosion via top secret audio system. Why is it top secret? And what is it being used for? And how are they peeping in on this vessel? How they knew about that? They were watching them the whole time, y'all, because they're behind it. Look at those men behind them. They know what the mission was. They know what this is about. Listen, y'all, listen. You brothers, especially you brothers and sisters that want to be a part of these military things and all this stuff, y'all need to get out of that, man. Y'all need to get out of that, especially if you repping the Most High. You're not even supposed to be there. I'm just being honest with you. Because when the Battle of Armageddon kicks off, which side are you going to serve? Which side are you going to be a part of? Because it's going to be the U.S. military, all the military all over the world against the Messiah. Trust and believe, that's what it's going to be. And all of y'all, it's going to be a bloodbath. Y'all going to be wiped out, destroyed. The Bible says the blood is going to be up to the horse's bridle. It's not going to be nice for you. These people are literally preparing for the return of the Messiah. That's why they have all this stuff with sounds. How they were able to pick up the implosion, because they're the ones that did it. Notice the Navy. The Navy. Let's see if y'all can figure this out. What do the Navy specialize in, ladies and gentlemen? Because I'm the best when it comes to these breakdowns. What do the Navy specialize in? Let's see what the chat is saying. What do the Navy specialize in? Isn't it interesting, out of all groups, the Navy was able to detect. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Submarines. Marine warfare. They specialize in the ocean. They're always in the ocean. They live under the ocean. They're there all the time. They have warships, all sorts of stuff out there. And they can see who's traveling. They know everything. They're in and out of the ocean. They know what's going on. And they were deployed, allegedly, to take out Mr. Rush and his crew. That's why they were the first to know that there was an implosion, because they are responsible. Allegedly. These are my theories, my thoughts. I am in America, am I? So that means that I have the liberty to share my thoughts because they are mine. I don't trust the Navy. I don't trust what they say. I don't trust what they had to share with the public because they have a secret audio system. So if they have a secret audio system, then they would know what the crew was talking about on the vessel. Ladies and gentlemen, are you paying attention in class? If the secret audio system can pick up the implosion, then the secret audio system can also pick up the conversations of those that are on the vessel. Come on, y'all. Get those likes up. Get those likes up. That means they were listening. They were hearing everything. They were able to pretty much intercept their communications. Could it be that the U.S. Navy allegedly is responsible for wiping out communication between Mr. Rush and the vessel that was on the surface, preventing them from communicating? Could it be that the U.S. Navy is responsible for that? Come on now. Come on. Yeah, well, I know this already, Godson 81. We're pretty much both on the same page when it comes to it wasn't an implosion. I know it was an explosion. You know what I mean? Definitely that vessel was wiped out. This is why they're saying there's no sense in anyone trying to find any bodies, because they were taken out. They were taken out by the so-called Navy, allegedly. I don't trust them. I don't trust them because they're the ones giving the briefing. You know what I mean? They were the ones that were under that water. They knew what was going on. You understand? Just look at their faces. Look at the guys in the background. Look at their faces. Look at their faces, y'all. Do those look like nice guys? Those are guys that signed up for the purpose of doing what they got to do. Because remember, as citizens of the United States, we're the enemy. You understand? They're protecting us from ourselves. This is their mission. I don't trust them one bit. This case with Mr. Rush is very, very sketchy. You know what I mean? And it's just not making any sense at all.
I mentioned there are two debris fields. There is one larger one that includes the tail cone of the Titan sub.
So where are all the parts? Where are the parts? Where are all the parts? Why they ain't bring them up yet? Why they didn't bring up the parts? If they found all these debris, why they ain't bring them up yet for examination, for research, so that we can know if it was in fact an implosion or an explosion? You understand? Because that implosion story, I'm not buying that. That's a lie. Because they're saying that because they want you to believe that the vessel wasn't able to withstand the pressure. That's what they're spinning, but they're lying. That's a lie. If that's the case, then the robot that they sent underwater would have imploded too. It's a lie. Do you understand? They're lying to you. They're taking you for a fool. And it's sad how people are so easily deceived in America.
Located just 1,600 feet from the bow of the Titanic shipwreck, which is 12,500 feet below the ocean surface. And there was a smaller debris field that included the back of the Titan sub as well. And at this point now, Josh,
if it imploded, there wouldn't even be anything. If it imploded, right? If it imploded and the people were vaporized, then why aren't the parts vaporized? Do you see how they're lying? They're lying, people. They're lying to you. Anybody that got sense would know these people lying to you.
We know that they are now dwindling back, pulling back some of the 9 vessels that were out there helping with the search and rescue.
How could they help with the search and rescue if they're not in the ocean. You know, sailing around the area is not helping anything. They're like 2 miles, 3 miles under the ocean. So there is no way that those other ships were out there helping. They weren't out there helping. They were out there making sure the job is done.
Efforts in that they will now continue, though, to use the recovery underwater vehicles, those robots, to...
Oh, that's a good point you made right there. Hold on now. Cookie 4XO said no parts floated to the top. That's a good point. You know why that's a good point? I'm going to tell you now. If the submarine was made of cheap parts, carbon fiber, and all this cheap light material, then how could the wreckage be at the bottom of the ocean? They're lying to us, ladies and gentlemen. They really believe we're stupid and we're idiots, man. They really believe we're stupid, man. Seriously. They really believe that we're just dumb idiots, man. And people out here really believe in the narrative that they push out there. This is why a lot of them don't like me, man. I'm pretty sure all the government agencies are listening to me right now, and they're like, John, we need a guy like that in our agency. This guy is very, very intelligent. We need to have him on board. Oh no, sorry, fam. I work for the Most High. I work for a different agency. I work for the agency of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's the agency I work for. And no one can stop the superpower of the Most High Yah. No one. No technology is more advanced than him. Let's get back to the tapes.
We'll continue to search underneath the seafloor to survey the debris field. And as for the prospects of whether or not they will find any of the bodies of the victims, the Coast Guard Rear Admiral yesterday said they have no prospects as of yet, no information as to whether or not that's even going to be possible.
So why? Why they can't find the bodies? How is it that there's parts and debris of the vessel, but there's no parts and debris of bodies? So there's no bones, there's nothing that we can use, there's nothing there, right? Of course not, because they don't want to tell the public that the Navy was involved in taking out the submersible vessel that Rush and the occupants was in. They just can't tell you a story like that. But that's exactly what happened, in my humble opinion, allegedly. The U.S. Navy was involved in taking them out. That's the bottom line story. Because they were the first to know that allegedly there was an implosion, because they're under the ocean and their job is to do what they do in terms of military surveillance and various other things to keep watch of the sea. Why do you think they have different branches of military? You know, you got the Army, you got the Marines, you got the Navy, you got different fields because they're in different areas, different locations. You got to understand how they're set up and how they work. The Navy controls the sea. That's their playground. So they were there. And whatever implosion there was, in my opinion, it was executed by the Navy to take out Mr. Rush because he was on to something that they didn't want the world to know. And that's what happened.
At those depths, Josh.
And Brian, one thing we did learn yesterday as well is that it sounds as though the U.S. Navy had these, I guess, top secret devices that were in the ocean.
Right. That's an interesting point. Quan Brooks says, so they couldn't find it intact, but they can find pieces. Yeah, that's right. That's crazy. They couldn't find it intact, meaning in all sense and purposes, while the vessel was large enough to be found, they couldn't find that. But they have the equipment now to find tiny pieces, a debris field. But they couldn't find it when it was intact. It makes a lot of sense now. I'm telling you, man, listen, this is why we have to have people using their brain. You see like how Quan brought out that point, and then I believe somebody else brought out another point. If everybody bring out the good key points and we put them all together, we'll really realize how the news stories that we're hearing is a joke. It's just not making any sense. You know, they're lying to us. Don't think for a minute that these people are smarter than us, because they want the population to believe that we're dumb and stupid, that we just don't know nothing and we got to depend on the news media to tell us everything in order for us to survive. No, half of the time, I would say at least 90% of the time, the news media lies every day. Every single time. They gotta lie. Remember the movie clip that I showed in my last stream where they talked about for national security, they would give out a fabricated story of what happened because the people are not really ready to hear the truth. If they were to come out on the news media and say, well, we used the U.S. Navy to torpedo the vessel because it went across state lines and they're out there doing stuff that goes against national security, so we took them out for national security. They would never tell you that news. But this kind of stuff happens every day, ladies and gentlemen. Think about this. Why is the Navy even out at sea? What are they waiting on? To take people out that cross over into different places. This is what they do every day. Ain't no telling how many vessels get taken out. And it never gets reported on the news. You could have somebody at sea and they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. No different than when you fly in a plane in an area and then you get reports saying you're in a no-fly zone. Turn around and get out of this space or you will be shot down. The military will tell you that. Do your research. You go flying that jet or plane anywhere where it's not supposed to be in a certain airspace, they will shoot down your plane if you don't listen to the radio controls, because they see you as some sort of terrorist or some sort of person doing something they don't want, or they just don't want you in the area. You could be flying in an area on a private plane to just do your own documentation and research, and a military jet will pull up on the side of you to communicate with you, to tell you to land that plane, just so that they can take you into custody or whatever the case is. It's really, really spooky out there, fam. Keep thinking that all of these people are here to protect us. They're not here to protect us. Not at all. I don't believe nothing they say.
That may have actually heard the implosion itself maybe an hour or so after that vehicle did go into the water there.
Notice that. The news is saying that the U.S. Navy detected the implosion sound an hour after it went into the ocean. So if that's the case, why wasn't these reports put out there so that the people can know that it already imploded? They gave that to us a few days later, after they fed us a bunch of lies that they only have 48 hours left of oxygen, that there's still hope that they could be found. They were dragging the story on for days. They were lying to us the whole time. So why would anybody believe anything the media is saying regarding this story? You understand? I'm the only one on social media right now giving pushback to the narrative that the media is putting out there. And it's so much so that they're going to be able to shape public opinion. There's no way that my 1 or 2 videos will be able to reach millions of people to wake them up. This is why it's very important for you to hit that like button and share the videos so other people can learn this information, because they don't want you to know this. They don't want you to think outside the box. You know, you had Canadian Armed Forces in Operation 2. Think about all the resources that was used just for this one situation. Come on, fam. This was bigger than what you think it is. When you have different agencies, Canadian Air Arms Force, you have the U.S. Navy, you have all these different agencies involved in one situation over a vessel that went in the ocean. It's bigger than what they're telling you, man. This is big, big news, and they're hiding the truth. They don't want you to know what really went down, man. And it's sad how much they keep information from the people, man. It's really sad and disgusting.
Yeah, Josh, Wall Street Journal first reporting this pretty stunning news that the U.S. Navy was able to pick up what they believe was an acoustic anomaly that sounded like the implosion or explosion of the Titan sub.
Implosion or explosion, he said. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Implosion or explosion. You see that? He said that the U.S. Navy was able to pick that up. Well, how were they able to pick that up? That mean that they were being monitored. Ladies and gentlemen, that mean that the vessel Rush was in was being monitored the whole time by the U.S. Navy. It was being monitored. It was being monitored. There was an explosion. You see that? They gave it away, y'all. There was an explosion. And being that the location of where the Titanic sank is way away from, you know, any sort of land or habitation where people are, they could do stuff like that. And nobody would hear it. Do you know that? Do you know where the Titanic sank? The U.S. Navy could unleash torpedoes and destroy that vessel, and nobody would never know. Because nobody's in those areas. Nobody's sailing in those areas. Nobody's at sea. Nobody would know nothing. And that's how they do things, man. They were following Mr. Rush the whole time. They were following him the whole time, y'all. Allegedly, the U.S. Navy was following Mr. Rush and his crew the whole time, saw them getting closer, doing what they had to do. They picked up on their radio frequencies. They were able to hear what they were saying on board the vessel. They realized that they had video footage. They realized they had documentation of any sort of life forms, whether aliens, whether they extracted stuff, materials. We don't know what they were doing, but whatever it is, my belief, my theory is that the U.S. Navy detected this information, deployed whatever weaponry they had to delete those folks, to erase whatever it is they were embarking on. Just like that. That simple. They got word from the powers that be. We have them in target. What should we do? Take the shot. We will put out a story on the news. We'll say that they had an implosion. Ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. If I was a betting man, that's exactly what happened, ladies and gentlemen. And the news media is going to bite it because that's just the way business go. They report whatever the powers that be tell them to report.
Just hours after the Titan sub began its voyage on Sunday, and that information from the Navy was relayed to the Coast Guard in command of the search and rescue mission.
Mr. Rush already done tests at Andre. They've done tests with the vessel at those depths already. The media is trying to make you believe, and make not just you, but everybody believe, that it was their first test run and it didn't make it. You have to understand that can be remotely controlled. So this is something that they have already done, tested, verified, and knew. This is why they try to spin the story about they needed proper verifications and all this other stuff, because they want it to be connected to government authority. Mr. Rush allegedly was operating outside of different aspects of government or whatever the case is, and they knew they couldn't touch him. They knew they couldn't really regulate what he could or couldn't do. You get what I mean? They couldn't tell him what he can and can't do. This is what they were really trying to do. They wanted him to be under their control. Right, he was independent. There you go. He was independent. You know what I mean? And he was doing a damn good job. And they didn't like that. One man doing a good job, they didn't like that. They wanted him to be regulated. They wanted him to have limitations. They couldn't do that. That's why they took him out. That's why they took him out. It's just like if you're an independent artist. Record labels want you to sign to their label because they want to enslave you. They couldn't make Mr. Rush a slave. And because they couldn't make him a slave, they decided to take him out. Allegedly. Right? Let's get back to the tapes.
And that with that intel plus the other information that they received, that there was intermittent banging every 30 minutes that they were hearing underwater.
Notice they saying that's another story they spin, another bunch of lies, that there was intermittent banging. This is something they were reporting throughout the week, as if though they were panicking in the sub, banging, trying to get the attention of people that are rescuing them. These are all lies, because the Navy's claiming that, hey, it imploded an hour after it left and it departed into the ocean. So why would there be any banging? All of those stories are lies. Those are all lies, but nobody's picking up on the lies to put the pieces together.
It was decided at that moment to continue the search and rescue mission. But no doubt...
How could there be a search and rescue? How would they rescue men from an enclosure, a confined space submarine that is bolted together? How are they going to rescue them? It's not like they could go to the bottom of the ocean and unlock the vessel to release the people. They would die. You understand? So what's really going on? I'm trying to figure this out. How is it going to be a search and rescue? Did they had any sort of machinery that can grab a hold of the vessel and pull it to the surface? Was that deployed? They didn't have none of that equipment. So what search and rescue are they talking about? There was no search and rescue. They're lying. These are all lies, ladies and gentlemen.
Information from the Wall Street Journal is stunning, and that they also reported that they were able to detect this implosion or explosion using a top secret acoustic detection system. That's
a top secret acoustic detection system
used to spot enemy submarines.
To spot enemy submarines. That means they were close by. People! Come on! Come on! They were close by. Top secret. A top secret system that can detect enemy submarines. The Navy was very close to them. How else would they be able to detect it? How? Because they were close by. The Navy was there guarding the area, ladies and gentlemen. The Navy was guarding the area where the Titanic is. For all we know, there's alien life forms in that area. For all we know, the Navy is guarding the area because they know that a spacecraft landed at sea. And that could have been what Mr. Rush was seeking after. And the Navy may have allegedly taken out the occupants of the sub because they detected it. Now, notice they said this top secret radio frequency device is to detect enemy submarines. Could it be that Mr. Rush has become an enemy of the state because he was doing his research and they didn't like that? Come on now. Y'all better pick this up. They blew up that vessel, fam, allegedly. They blew that thing up, man, to smithereens.
Fox News was able to confirm the information from the U.S. Navy official that, yes, in fact, they did hear the implosion or explosion days ago, and that it was relayed, the information, immediately to the Coast Guard, which decided to...
So it was relayed to the Coast Guard, but it wasn't relayed to the media? Notice that. He said it was relayed to the Coast Guard. So right after they heard this information, it was relayed to the Coast Guard, but the news media wasn't relaying that to us. The news media was telling us that these people are trapped at sea, lost at sea, and they're trying to locate them. So if they're lost at sea, why don't they just return back to the surface? Come on now. If they lost communication, right, and it's a communication issue, why didn't they just return back to the surface? They were already destroyed, fam. To lose communication means that the vessel was totally destroyed already. You understand? There was no communication issues. The technology is there. They were torpedoed, allegedly. In my opinion, they were destroyed. The vessel was literally destroyed by the military. I don't care what nobody say. That's what happened. You can tell me what you wanna. These are my thoughts. I'm in America. This is my right. They were murdered. You can't tell me otherwise. Their vessel was torpedoed.
Continue on their rescue mission. Josh?
And Brian, we also did learn yesterday as well that it sounds as though we know there was a father and son on board, but that the son actually had expressed possible concerns about going on this vehicle here.
No, he did not. That's a lie. You know what I mean? That's a lie. That's more propaganda that they're spinning to the media.
This vessel, and really just went because it was for his father. Is that
if you had fears of going, why would you go for your father? If you have concerns, if you're terrified, why would you still go because it's your father? Because they're saying, oh, he went with his father because it was a Father's Day gift.
Your understanding?
Yeah, this reporting is unbelievable. This reporting from NBC News, they interviewed the aunt of his name.
They interviewed the aunt, but they didn't let her speak. They just keep showing you a little clip. She didn't say anything. They're lying to us.
Is Solomon Dawood. He's the youngest victim of the 5, just 19 years.
So they interviewed the aunt. Where's the mother? Where's the other relatives? Where's the family and friends? Who is this aunt? Come on, man. They just filling your ears up with a bunch of hot air, man. It's a joke.
And the aunt went on to reportedly say that Solomon didn't really want to go on this trip, that he went on this trip.
Listen, if I didn't want to go on a trip, I'm not going. I don't care what nobody say. If my inner spirit is telling me not to go, I don't care if you're my mom, father, I don't care who you are, I'm not going with you. If my spirit says something don't feel right, I'm not going. It's just like I'm not getting in a car with some dudes to let me get a drop to a certain area if I feel unsafe. If I feel like, well, maybe these guys are involved in some illegal activity. They might get pulled over by the cops. They might got a gun in the car. You know what I mean? No, I'm good, bro. Y'all could go. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I'm not getting in the vehicle. But they're trying to make you think that the 19-year-old was fearful for his life, as if though he was dragged on board a vessel of death. See how they further trying to make Stockton look like a monster? You know what I mean? And they trying to make the young man's father, look like he's an evil man for forcing his son on a vessel when he was fearing for his life. These are lies. All of them are lies. He's a 19-year-old young man. He made a conscious decision to get on that vessel. Let's stop babying people. Get those likes up, fam. This is the best reactionary video with this content on YouTube. My likes should be 683 already. Let's get them damn likes up now. Let's go.
Because his father, Shahzada, his name, Shahzada Dawood, was such a big fan of the Titanic that he wanted to please his father and go on this trip. But his aunt described Solomon as, quote, not being very up for it. He was terrified.
Where is the messages of him being terrified? Where's the text messages? Where's the phone calls? Where is that? How do we verify that this aunt is even real? How do we know she's not a crisis actor? How do we know that this even happened? Where is the documentation that proves and substantiates that this young man was terrified before he went on that vessel? Where is it? We just gonna believe what some random woman says? Come on, man. Y'all gotta think better than that, man.
And she says that she feels in disbelief, and it's an unreal situation now for that family.
That woman is just being emotional, and the news media is adding on to what she said by making the young man feel like he was terrified. They're adding on words that she did not say.
Horrific context.
Notice this whole thing with this vessel, all these stories, they have no data, no evidence, no audio, no video. They don't got nothing to prove what really happened, but people believe it was an implosion, a catastrophic implosion.
What's already a tragic story, Josh.
For sure. All right, Brian Yennis there in Boston, Massachusetts. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us here.
Wow.
Thanks, Josh.
Jacob Jaffa. Hello, Jacob.
Hi, Kevin.
Yeah, we saw there the news that, in a way, the whole world has been trapped in a false drama.
Notice the whole world. This is what the powers that be did. They got the whole world to focus on this story.
Since Sunday, because we'd assumed
since Sunday the whole world been tuning in
that it was this almost horrific situation where 5 men were trapped somewhere down in the depths.
That's what everybody believed, that they were trapped and they needed to be rescued.
With their oxygen running out.
With their oxygen running out. That was the initial stories.
Countdown to death. But in fact, it looks as if they descended on the Sunday. They started going down at 8 o'clock. At 9:45, we lost contact with them.
All right, so at 9:45 they lost contact. That means that's when they were allegedly torpedoed and their vessel was disintegrated, and that's pretty much what happened. But did they tell us a story? No, they gave us a lie. And they ran with a false story throughout the week, making us believe that there was a countdown to their death. And then everybody was like, wow, how many more minutes do they got? Did they run out of oxygen yet? This is how everybody was on social media.
And it looks as if that was the moment when it was only 1,600 feet from the Titanic that the hull of their tiny submersible called the Titan just imploded, and they would have died instantly. As I say, you don't celebrate something like that, but I think for the families, that will be a source of some solace, that their loved ones did not suffer a long, protracted, agonizing death.
This is what they want you to believe, that they didn't suffer an agonizing death. None of these people are qualified to even talk about these things because none of them were there, and there's no proof that any of this even happened.
Down there in the deep.
Well, as you say, there was all this speculation about how long did we have.
Yeah, how did they know the exact time? That's interesting.
To try and rescue the 5 passengers. What was the window of oxygen? Unfortunately, it appears that none of that mattered in the end. And as you mentioned, within a couple of hours of going down, something's happened, whether it be a design fault or a crack.
Notice he says a design fault or a crack. Notice how they keep focusing on the structural integrity of the vessel. Notice with all the video clips that I've showed you, everybody in the smear campaign keep trying to point to the design of the vessel. Do you see how they're all smearing the man? This is sad.
Or anything like that. Something has allowed the pressure to escape that hull, meaning that it's just imploded. And as you mentioned, we don't.
If something allowed the pressure to escape the entire vessel, that means it was struck with something. That means that something tampered with it. Something was down there that altered the trip that they had.
Like talking about it, and it's a horrible thing to have to think about, but if we do find small mercies in this, it's that it would have been over before the people on board even knew what was happening.
Absolutely. Now, on board was Stockton Rush. He was the chief executive of Oceangate, the company that provided these excursions down to see Titanic, yours for just 200,000 quid. So it was a sort of rich person's only opportunity. But people have the adventurous spirit and they do this. But what I wanted to ask you about Oceangate is, for me, the great mystery, the big question that needs.
Another thing that we have to look at is this comment. Let me elaborate on that. Radicalized Offline says, I legit think there is Titans submerged in the deepest depths of the seas. That's what they was worried about. Them discovering, use your head, y'all. This ain't about money. You're 100% correct. Because if you think about it, the name of the craft or the submergible was called Titan. Think about that. Titan. Why would they even name it that? Think about it. Let it marinate, fam. Why would they name it that out of all things? Let it make sense. You see? They knew what this was about. You see? There was beings under there. Mysterious things. And the powers that be know. You stay there and think these military people just be sitting in an office somewhere doing nothing. Their whole life is just being in the military, dealing with all these different things that we in the land of the living don't even think about. We don't even think about the fact that there's life forms out there that are being guarded by military, monitored, watching their activity. Trust and believe, man, that Navy had something to do with this, man. Some sick stuff out here.
Answering is this vessel submerged at 8 a.m. on Sunday. It was last heard of at 9:45 a.m. It's supposed to regularly send messages back up to the north, to the surface to prove it's still okay. It disappeared at 9:45. Oceangate didn't raise the alarm for another 8 hours. What on earth is that all about?
Wow.
Yeah, there have been lots of questions about Oceangate, how safe the vessel was, what the procedures were like, the fact that...
Now, they're trying to say that Oceangate didn't raise no alarms for 8 hours later or whatever the case is. That's a lie. Like I said, if you do your research, when they lost contact, Oceangate pretty much contacted some other agency that had resources that could be used to pretty much find what happened with the vessel. And based on what I've learned through my research and studying this, the government blocked that from even happening, meaning the company that had the equipment, the resources that can get the job done, they were blocked from using it to help out with the search. So I don't know why the news media is pushing this nonsense when that's a lie.
The mothership which launched it didn't have a recovery vehicle on board, the fact that there was no navigation system, a relatively basic communication system. It was guided by text messages from people on the ship above, and also sent automatic pings every 15 minutes just to basically say that it was still in operation. And as you say, after about an hour and 45 minutes, the last of those pings happened. But the alarm wasn't raised until the time when the sub was meant to be re-emerging from the water. And so it appears that what's happened is people have lost contact with this sub, but waited until it was meant to come back.
No, that's a lie, because according to the information that we heard, the Navy pretty much knew, or based on their words, that there was a so-called catastrophic implosion, and how they notified the U.S. Coast Guard or whatever the case is, and the Coast Guard notified the families of the victims, right? So now, if all of that took place within an hour or 2 hours, then everything the media have been telling us, they're lies, nothing but lies. So all of this blame being shifted on Oceangate is propaganda. It's just to keep you distracted from figuring out what really happened. You know, something very sinister happened, and the people that are in power were able to confiscate whatever Oceangate had. And they're doing a heck of a job to shape public opinion at this point. This is not your ordinary trip to see the Titanic. This has nothing to do with the Titanic. Trust and believe. This is deeper. You know what I mean? And they know what it's about. Not only that, the design of the vessel should tell you what it's about. Now, look, ladies and gentlemen, listen to me very carefully, because I'm getting some downloads. I'm getting some downloads from the spirit realm. If you look at the video on the screen, right, the still image, notice the way the submarine is made with this small opening. Think about that. Let it marinate for a bit. Let me telepathically send you some downloads in my mind. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? This was not about seeing the Titanic. This was about them exploring a world where there could be possibly alien life forms in the deep. That is why the window area of the craft is so small, to not cause any distractions of movements, of seeing individuals inside of the vessel as they go through this area that they're exploring. That's why it's so small. It's just enough for them to videotape and peep and look, to not distract or awaken whatever it is that is down there. Do you understand? And this is why I said that the design by Mr. Rush was a brilliant masterpiece. This is why they're trying to discredit him, to shut down everything that he's done, because they don't want you, the people, to understand the magnitude of this issue. This was not about seeing the Titanic. This was about seeing life forms that is underwater that they don't want the world to know about, but it exists. Do you understand? This is about discovery. This is about science. This is about research. And I'm telling you, these individuals had their cameras, just like you see that woman holding an SLR camera in her hand, is the same way. They're down there taking photos and videos of something. And this is what was going on, man. Yeah, the Leviathan, that could be down there as well. A lot of people, they don't believe things, but I told you already, ladies and gentlemen, the ocean is deep. It's an entire world, a whole nother planet. And there are things down there that grow, that live, and it have its own food supply, its own energy source. There is an economy under the ocean. Do you understand? There is communication under the ocean. Different beasts are under in the ocean. A whole world exists there that is running simultaneously with our world, but it's a gulf that separates us. That's why we don't have gills. We cannot breathe underwater because we don't belong under there. We don't. And sometimes man, in his arrogance, want to explore. And consequently, things happen. You know, not saying that these men died because of their ambitions, but I can see that someone intervened and took them out. Because again, how did the U.S. Navy was able to pick up an alleged implosion with a top secret radio? What is that top secret radio for? They said, oh, to find enemy submarines. Then it ain't really all that top secret, isn't it? See, the top secret part is not about finding enemy subs. Top secret mean that radio frequency or whatever they got can hear the communication of the enemy. Do you understand? It can hear inside of other vessels. It's top secret. So they were able to not only break communication with Mr. Rush's vessel, but also hear and listen to their conversations. And they probably heard them talking about the government. They probably heard them talking about how we're going to use this information to do this and do that and do this. And they say, you know what? We got to take them out. We got to take them out. It's the only thing to do. Sir, what do we do? Take them out effective immediately. Moving forward, we're going to have several news stations to publish different stories. The public will believe it. It'll be just another day. We'll clean it up. Operation Cleanup. And we'll get right back to business. But we cannot have these individuals return to the surface with this information, these videos and everything so forth. We got to get rid of this as soon as possible. Okay, sir. Guys, hey, set up the sub for deployment of this torpedo. Aye, aye, sir. Okay. And that's it. This is what they did. Allegedly. Let's get back to the tape.
To actually say, oh, there might be something wrong here. And members of the families have been, in fact, I believe Stockton Rush's wife, no, sorry, it was Hamish Harding's cousin, has been very critical of the...
Notice they showing you a toilet that's in the water.
The company in that and saying they waited far too long.
So what they had clearly assumed was, okay, they've lost contact. You know, the communication system isn't working. But they proceeded on the basis that the boat was, or the sub was all right. And they waited until such time as they would have expected it to reappear. And when it didn't, they finally raised the alarm. Well, they're going to face a lot of questions about that.
No, not them, because the U.S. Navy is the ones that heard whatever, and they relayed their information to the Coast Guard. So why the U.S. Navy and the Coast Guard didn't provide that information back to Oceangate? Why they didn't give them that information? Because they claim that they notified the families. How would they know who the families are to notify them? Come on, y'all. Come on, come on, come on. How could the U.S. Navy and the Coast Guard notify the families about what happened if they don't even have their contact information? How are they going to notify them? Come on. See, this is where it's just not making any sense, fam.
Now, you've written about the British victim of this terrible tragedy, Hamish Harding. One of the outrages, I think, he went to Cambridge. His college was having a party this week based on submarines. It was a submarine ball.
Now they're talking about the other billionaire guy that died. Now they're talking about him now.
Submarine-themed ball. They were called upon to call this off out of respect, because at the time we didn't know what where Hamish was or whether he was still alive, and they didn't. they carried on with that, which I think is a disgrace. But tell us a bit.
So hold up, they carried on with it, and he says it's a disgrace. Why is it a disgrace? It should be a disgrace that you guys are out here on a smear campaign trying to discredit the CEO of Oceangate. That's a disgrace. How come out of respect, you guys won't just shut your mouths and stop putting out a bunch of propaganda? Why is it that it's okay for you to do that, but yet you're criticizing the other people from continue to going on doing whatever celebration that they're doing? Why are you criticizing them but not criticizing yourselves, hypocrites? Let's get back to the tapes.
About Hamish Harding, a self-made billionaire, an adventurer, clearly.
Yeah, he is very experienced.
YouTube is not playing with the numbers. You are, because you're not sharing the videos. How many of you in the chat actually shared the video? How many of you took the video link and shared it on various platforms? You're not doing a damn thing but watching and complaining that YouTube is messing with my numbers. No, you're not doing your part. You're not sharing the video and you're not clicking the like button. It's just that simple.
It's in this sort of stuff, and something we've, there's been a lot of criticism of the people on board on social media, and quite horrible stuff, actually. A lot of it saying, that they're just sort of silly rich people and they're just going off on a jaunt, and it's actually far more dangerous than they realized. And they've ended up, obviously tragically they've died.
What do you say? Let me see. The Bloomin' channel says if they know military are listening to their confidential talks, why would they talk? First of all, how could they know that the military is listening to them? I don't understand your question. It's not making any logical sense. How could Mr. Rush know that the military is listening to them? The military is not going to know. I mean, Mr. Rush has no idea about this top secret audio device. We're now learning about that now that they're dead. You see that? We're now learning about that. I mean, think about this. You have a cell phone, right? Okay. Your cell phone has a camera. I have my camera, my phone right here. My iPhone is in my hand. It has a camera. It has a microphone. Do you not know that your cell phone is a surveillance tool that the government used to track you, to listen to you, and even eavesdrop on you while in your house? Do you know that? Do you know that? That the government can access your phone with your camera and see inside of your house, hear your conversations through the technology of the cell phone, right? Do you know there's technology, cameras that could see through brick walls and see the body movements of people in their house walking up and down? Do you know that? So with all of this information, it's very apparent that the government have technology to do these things. Now, Mr. Rush have no idea about the fact that the U.S. Navy was in the area, because how were they able to know about an implosion? How is it that they use a top secret radio that is only designed for detecting enemies? So they were using a top secret radio to monitor Mr. Rush's progress. They were watching them the whole time. They were watching those people the whole time.
All the people on board, other than the teenage son of one of the passengers, were seasoned adventure tourists, extreme tourists, adventurers, whatever you want to call them. Hamish Harding himself has 3 Guinness World Records, 2 of them to do with deep sea exploration. He's been to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. These people knew what they were doing, and it seems that something on that...
Right, they knew what they were doing, so the young man was not terrified of going on this adventure.
Craft has let them down quite catastrophically.
Yeah, particularly the French diver Paul-Henri Nargeolet, who's been down to see the Titanic, I think, more than any other person alive. So he would have known what he was doing. And I assume, would be across sort of safety standards as well. But what I wanted to ask you, Jacob, was the Pakistani, British-based Pakistani billionaire, Shahzada Dawood. He took his son, his 19-year-old son, Suleiman Dawood, down with him. And we're learning...
Notice, all of these billionaires died. Let it all make sense, ladies and gentlemen. All of these billionaires died. Not just one, but he's a billionaire too. That's right. All of these billionaires died. Let it all make sense, man. This is crazy, man.
In fact, Suleiman, it's being reported that he only did it to keep his dad happy and was actually terrified of getting onto this craft. So there's a kind of sad story there.
Yes, absolutely. His aunt, Shahzada's older sister, Asma, has spoken to the press and said that Suleiman was terrified, that he didn't really want to go down in that craft. But
I can guarantee you that these men that was on board were going to help the CEO, Mr. Rush, to finance his projects, to finance the development of whatever it is he was working on. I can guarantee you it was something big. They were about to embark on something huge. And for whatever reason, the government got involved and ended everybody's lives, allegedly. Because it is unthinkable that all of these billionaires died all at the same time. They were going to finance something concerning possible tourism, something that was going to possibly make money, something to see the landing of a ship, the wreckage of a ship, spacecraft, aliens, you name it. It was something big. And they took them out. And I can guarantee you that these particular men, this is not their first time going into that sub. Because for the guy to invite his son, that would imply that he already did this already. That would imply that he already took a trip already and decided to bring his son along. He ain't gonna bring his son along for the first time. That means that he did it by himself and said, son, come on, man, this is gonna be fun. I'm telling you, you gotta experience this. That's what was going on.
His dad was so passionate about the Titanic and about this sort of adventuring that he wanted to...
Remember, rich, wealthy people, they do things that most of us could possibly never do. They be, man, all sorts of crazy adventures. You know what I'm saying? Crazy adventures. We might think they're crazy and risky, but at the same time, a lot of them be doing these things under very safe circumstances. When you got money like that, man, you hire and you pay people for the right type of stuff. So don't tell me that 4 billionaires got on board a death vessel that was made with parts from Home Depot and your local Target store with flashlights attached to the outside for lighting. I don't want to hear that. That's a lie.
To kind of please his father, to make him proud and to bond with him over this shared experience. And so we don't know how much that contributed to him going down, but his aunt is saying that. And it's all the more tragic that, of course, we lost contact with this.
Maybe they found a Stargate underwater. Maybe there's a Stargate underwater in the ocean. Imagine that. Maybe there's an energy field underwater. Some sort of scientific stuff that they were researching. There's a lot of stuff, man, to this story. When you have all these government agencies and resources being deployed, this is not because somebody's just lost at sea, man. This is a bigger event. Come on, man.
And it seems that they all died across Father's Day. So that's just, it's kind of too terrible for words.
Too sad for words, absolutely. What do you think the future of Titanic tourism is, you know, going down there just to sightsee?
Nobody was down there to sightsee. I don't believe that one bit.
One would have thought...
And I don't even think this was about money, man. This had to be bigger than money. Remember, these are all billionaires. They're not even thinking about making any money. This was bigger than money, man. All of these guys on board was billionaires living in the best of the best. They're not even thinking about money. This had something to do with long-term development of something in terms of technology, discoveries, inventions, resources. They probably saw some sort of portal, Stargate, some alien life forms that's underwater that nobody ever sees at the bottom. And it's like, you can only see this at the bottom of the ocean. They never come to the surface. You understand? So, hey, this is crazy, man.
Not a very long future.
Well, I've been asked this question quite a lot in the past few days, and I've spoken on it quite a lot. And it seems to me that the only direction that this can move in is excessively tightening regulation.
Notice that, excessively tightening regulation. So now nobody else will be able to create their own submersibles to do any of these adventures, because what's happening is the government now is going to regulate these type of things so that nobody else could do it unless it's under their jurisdiction. That's how they're going to do this thing now, because they don't want nobody else to see these things. So it's going to all be, controlled by the powers that be. You got to have documentation. You have to have the paperwork, and there's certain things you can't do and can do, and it's all because one man decided to step outside the box, and it cost him his life and the lives of others because they didn't want him to return to the surface with the information he found.
So I don't think this will stop. And I think actually the destination for all this sort of extreme tourism to space, to the deep sea, is more commercialism and becoming more publicly available and cheaper. But with that will come, especially with tragedies like this, very strict regulation. And you'll see a lot, far fewer companies like Oceangate, where they're relatively small companies, not huge budgets, not using military grade equipment, where
Notice, not using military grade equipment.
You will see, if anything like this happens.
So the military has all the equipment. So that means that they got equipment under the ocean too. Come on, y'all. Come on.
And again, and this sort of tourism continues, it will need to be high budget, high safety standard with large and regulated companies doing it.
I presume, last question really, Jacob, I presume investigations are going on right now into the safety standards, just how safe was Titan, just how safe are these trips down to those kind of depths. I presume that's happening right now, and that will determine how future missions to the Titanic are carried out.
Absolutely. There are going to be extensive investigations into this. I think at this stage, the mission is recovering as much debris and as much evidence as possible.
Notice they recovering debris, they're recovering this. Okay, where is it? Where's the photos? Where's the wreckage? Where's everything? Where's all this debris that they claim they're recovering? They have time to recover debris, but they didn't have time to recover the bodies. They didn't have time to recover the ship when it was intact, but they got time to recover pieces and parts. How do we know those pieces and parts is not of the Titanic? See? It could be a part of anything. They could fabricate anything and show us later on down the road that, hey guys, we found parts to the wreckage, and it's not even parts of the wreckage. They just created something to give you, to make you believe it.
And if we can recover a large part of that craft, then we can have a kind of full investigation into what exactly went wrong, try and pinpoint it. But there's been a lot of criticism around the safety standards on this mission. Even James Cameron, the director of Titanic, has come out.
Why would anybody listen to the director of the movie Titanic? Why would anybody listen to him? This is dumb.
And said, there's
going to be a Titanic 2. There's going to be another movie, and it's going to be based on true stories, true events of a voyage gone wrong, and it's going to include a submersible just like the one that was used, and it's going to be one big movie, man. This could have been one big blood sacrifice for the making of a new film.
The company, didn't go and get certified because they knew they wouldn't pass, and that he wouldn't have got on the sub, and that it wasn't a good idea. And there's been echoes of that throughout the discourse around this. So there will be a full investigation, I'm sure, and it will be probably quite a bad day for Oceangate.
Wow, a bad day for Oceangate. Isn't that interesting? That's exactly what they wanted to happen the whole time.
Once the data is in.
They want to shut it down. So they got the CEO up on out of there. He's history. Now they're trying to take down the company. What they're really trying to do is erase everything that they're for so that they don't embark on any more future adventures at all.
It's not looking good for Oceangate. As I say, one question that's going to be asked extremely pressingly is why they waited 8 hours to raise the alarm. But you came up with, I hadn't realised that may be the basis of why they took so long, because they were assuming that maybe just the communications were out and the boat would reappear, but of course it never did. Jacob, great to talk to you. Thank you very much for your time. That's Jacob Jaffa, journalist on The Sun, who's been covering this story.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's about it. Final thoughts. I personally believe, like I said, this entire situation is fabricated in terms of a catastrophic implosion. That's a story that they just have to give the media. The real story, in my opinion, was that the vessel from Mr. Rush was torpedoed, and it had a lot to do with what they were seeking after in the ocean. I don't think that they went down there to get no photos of the Titanic. I think there are many photos of that already. So it was some research that was being done underwater. Some research. And they were gathering the data. They were gathering the intel via video, documenting what they seen. And it was supposed to be used for some sort of purpose. Unfortunately for them, I believe they were shot down by way of torpedo. And I believe that they seen something. It was serious. And the powers that be don't want the population to know. So they had to give us this fake story with lies and propaganda, as well as painting Mr. Rush out to be negligent of the design by pointing out flaws here and there. I think that is stupid and dumb. You know, he's an engineer. He should know right from wrong. He should know his own limits, you know. But to question a man's integrity in terms of the built quality of the vessel, I think that's dumb. I'm pretty sure that's his life work. Any man that is very focused on his job, any man that is focused on something that he loves to do, is always striving to do it the best way. He don't take corners. He don't cut corners. When it's your livelihood and it's something that you love to do, you're not trying to do it bad. You're trying to do it the best of your abilities. So I know that Mr. Rush used the resources he had to provide the best structural design possible to do the job. And it's a sad situation that they have alienated him. They have thrown his name under the bus, discredit him, called for him to be stripped of his credibility, his plaques, his diplomas, his credentials, whatever certificates he have as an engineer, all because of jealousy. He beat them to the punch, and he will always go down in history as a guy who defied all the odds and did what many others were unable to do. So, in the end, I salute Mr. Rush for his contributions to the life experience here on Earth, for his innovation and his dedication to the submergible community in research or whatever it is that interests him in his line of work. I don't believe for a split second that this man was negligent in anything. I believe that he did what he did to the best of his abilities, and he wanted to discover something for a positive outcome. And because the powers that be is negative and they want to keep the population under control, they decided to take him out. I believe that Mr. Rush had the backing, the financial backing of billionaires, and they didn't like that. Other submergible engineers that was probably trying to embark on the same thing did not have the resources that Mr. Rush had. This is why they got everybody up on out of there. He was surrounded by billionaires. He was surrounded by other men that were educated men that understood what was down there, and it was taken from them. Just like everything else in life. Just like many other men were cheated out of their victories, cheated out of their inventions, cheated out of what they've obtained. This is why the smear campaign was deployed. So those are my final words on this situation. I hope you enjoyed this master class breakdown. If we have any more information, we will conduct another analysis to further give the public our thoughts and opinions. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section. Make sure you share the videos, get the likes up. I hope everybody enjoyed this work. You know, this is 3 hours and 23 minutes of nonstop talking and communicating with you. It takes a lot of energy to do this. A whole lot of energy. So salute to everybody that stuck with the show all this time so that we can get this job done. I want to give a few shout outs on the Cash App. Let me see who we got here. Let me see. Let me see. I shouted out these people already. Let me see. We have Alfred. Shout out to Alfred for the $15 support. Shout out to Alfred on the Cash App. Shout out to Keneal for the 20. Keneal for the 20. Bernice for the 10. Thomas for the 15. Brandon for the 25. Evelyn for the 20. Evelyn for the 20. Appreciate your support. Peter for the 5. And I think I shouted her out. Blue for the 5. I think I shouted you out yesterday. I believe I did. But appreciate you for your contributions. Right? So we're going to get up on out of here. We're going to have more content for you. I got work to do right now. 3:25 a.m. I have a lot of work I got to do right now. So I'm going to go complete my work, do what I got to do. We're going to be back on camera soon. Like I told you already, I'm doing some work, some major work. And I can't wait for all this stuff to be done so that I can put it to the test. Just like Mr. Rush is an innovator, I'm an innovator as well. And I am currently building something, and it is innovative when I tell you. Like literally, I literally designed this myself. Like literally, I literally designed my own custom system, man. This is brilliant work. Brilliant work, man. I can't wait to test this stuff out, man. Can't wait. People be spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for a system like this. And I built this whole thing easy. Just because of the knowledge that I have, I was able to do this thing. And it's soundproof. Like it's totally soundproof. Like I don't hear nothing. And if you want to know what it is, it's literally a outtake, airtake cooling system, air cooling system. You know what I'm saying? Where it have exit points that, you know, exhaust hot air. Then it have the intake that brings in cool air. And it's totally soundproof. Acoustically soundproof. We're not talking about a regular duct that just brings air in and out, but I'm talking about the entire construction of it is acoustically treated with 4-inch thick 703, 4-inch thick, but I constructed mine with 8 inches thick on all sides, like the entire chamber, like the entire perimeter of where the duct is in is 8 inches thick, and it kind of cats a corner in different ways, like spirals. That way, when air travels through, it has to bounce off of each area, and every time it bounces, it gets absorbed. So all you get is fresh, clean air coming in, hot air going out, and everything is just super comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Really, really good. Not a sound system, an air system. I just said that. All right. So that's about it. We're gonna get up on out of here. Let's see what we got here. So that's about it, man. Peace and blessings to everybody in the chat. Peace and blessings to the mods. It is what it is, man. Somebody said, be careful what you invented. I never said I invented anything. And why do I have to be careful? Think about that. Person says, be careful about saying what you invented because they hate when you can build stuff without buying their products. Like, what's the point of saying that? Like, seriously, what's the point of saying that? Why do I have to be careful about building anything? Did I say I'm selling something? Did I say I am innovating a new product? I'm just intelligent and I'm smart. You understand? It's no different than if somebody go out there and they're farming and making their own food and planting their own vineyard or whatever the case is, or using solar energy to solar panels to bring energy into their place. It's pretty much what it is. I don't care about anybody else or what they feel. You know what I'm saying? I'm a grown man. I do what the fuck I want to do. Period. Right? Shout out to the Hodge twins. That's where I got that talking point from. You already don't know what it is. Notice how I give proper credit, but it is what it is. So, we'll be back with more content, you know what I'm saying, later on in the day. I got a lot of work that I got to do, but it is what it is. So y'all could go out there and buy y'all expensive air systems. I understand technology enough to know how it works. And once you know how something works, my goodness, man. Once you understand vacuum, once you understand air pressure, once you understand all these different things, man, it's really simple and it's really easy. And a lot of people just don't understand things, man. And it's like, wow, this is why I know that Mr. Rush was a brilliant man. And as much as they're trying to paint him as a negative guy, being that I'm a creative myself, I know that he was very in love with what he did. And it's like, for them to take him out, it just goes to show that this is what they've been doing for a long time to all the brilliant minds. They don't want no one else to think outside the box. They just want to delete anybody that has the ability to make change. And it's sad. It's really sad. So again, condolences to all the families that have lost someone due to that tragedy. Just know that it was no implosion. Don't believe the official story. It's not adding up. If you really put the pieces together, the news media have been lying to the families all this time because if the Navy knew that they heard sounds that it was an implosion, how could they know it was an implosion? How do they know that for a fact? Again, we're talking about lives here. How could the U.S. Navy know and put out that it was an implosion? How could they know that for a fact if they didn't see it? That meant that they have it on their monitor. Remember, this is the Navy. So they have the equipment. They can see the strike point. They could tell by the sonic boom. They know the difference. They know what happened. But they're not telling nobody nothing. So that being said, make sure you rate, comment, and subscribe to the channel today. Ringo TV Reactions, the best reactionary channel on YouTube, hands down. Get those likes up. Let's get them likes to 1,000, fam. It is what it is, man. So, hey, y'all be safe out there. I'll catch y'all in the next one. It's Ringo TV Reactions. I'm out of here, y'all. Peace. Catch you in the next show. We out. Peace.
If you like our content, consider supporting via Cash App at $RingoTVRaw. Become a patron on patreon.com for exclusive video content not shown on YouTube. You could also support through PayPal at paypal.me/RingoTVRaw. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell to be notified of new content. Follow me on Instagram at RingoTVRaw.
This is Ringo TV Reactions, the only channel on YouTube bringing you the truth 100% raw and uncut. I'm out. Peace.